Hey, whoa, my mic. Hey, what's good, people? I'm Jason DeBeas. This is the Option Podcast. This is episode 108. That man is organized. He's got his stuff together. He's going to take us through it. That's Bryan McDermand. The episode starts right now. Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Clean shaven. Yo, my mic is bugging out right now. Hold on.
It's all good. Yeah, I've had different facial hair most of these podcasts. You gotta keep you on your toes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, I think it was like 3 different looks out of the four times. Guys, this is the Option Podcast. This is episode 108. That's Bryan McDermand. Welcome back, my man.
Good to be here, man. What's new?
Man. Well, we're gonna talk about a lot of club, but let's actually, it's not my mic, it's my headphones. Good. All right,
yeah, you
good.
sound pretty good to me.
Yeah, because I thought my mic was kicking in and out. It was the way I was hearing it. I got a little red eye too, man. So I've been trying to profile this whole podcast. I've been avoiding it. I haven't been getting a lot of sleep, and my eyes making me pay for it. So I look like Michael Bisping right now. I'm like cross-eyed, you know. Because a red eye makes you look like you're cross-eyed a little bit. But hey, you were coaching at the AVP. You coaching some people, and they weren't. And they were adults, right? Were they adults?
Yeah.
Or?
I mean, we so just to give a little background, people, I run Progression Beach Volleyball. We have 2 indoor beach volleyball courts in the Chicagoland area. So primarily we do a lot of juniors training, but I got to tell you, I think this next year we're going to shift a little bit more to adults. We have been training some of the top adults in Chicago since as early as 2015. So we've got 9 women in the program, and it's really nice because our girls that are going off to play in college, you know, we're not trying to just get kids to be the best 16 to 18-year-olds. We know that in a year they're going to be playing with kids 1 to 3 years older than them with Division I experience, and we need to prep them for that speed. So I've worked with 9 adults over the last year on the women's side in Chicago. My better half, and she coached with us, Kristen Helt, played her first AVP with Jesse Carnes, formerly Jesse Gehrig, who was from Ohio but moved to Chicago. And it was a blast. Wednesday was we had to play the one-dayer because they didn't have enough points, so they had to play 1 game to get to phase 2. They played against 2 of the top juniors in the country. One is going to FSU, the other is going to USC. I think one was the 2021 AAU Player of the Year. They were definitely, I think they were both defenders, and we were able to kind of take advantage of that. So it was we won the first one pretty convincingly. The second game, it was really windy. I mean, we're talking like 15, 20 mile an hour gusts.
Dude, yeah, that first day.
Yeah. And, so it was good. The second game started just a little bit squirrely. And then we were down pretty big. I think we were down 15-10, just typical serve receive rut and just struggling a little bit to maintain it. And they made a little bit of a push. And Kristen said there was a play like 15-11. It was a long volley, and they got the point. She said she just felt that momentum shift. We always tell our players we don't play against the clock, right? So I don't know about you. When I play, I always am visualizing how I'm going to make that comeback. Right. Every single time I play, and I lose all the time, but I can be down 19-13, and I'm thinking, all right, side out, generate 2 points on the serve, get 16-19 on the switch, right? So they just kind of took ownership of that, and I think it was 17-17, and Chris had back-to-back blocks, and Jesse had a shot over the block to finish the match, so that was good. So day 2, draw Fallon and Gina Urango, and came home and watched a couple matches of them, specifically the one where they played April and Alex and went 3 in Manhattan. And
yeah.
So
I think that was the only one Alex and April went to 3, right?
Yeah. And it was cool because, I'm a big believer. What I told them is like, look, most Wednesdays, Thursdays, you're working, right? And for their first qualifier together, Kristen's first qualifier ever, she'd made 3 NVL main draws, but this is a little bit different, speed. I said, this is opportunities for greatness, right? Regardless of win or loss. Like the bottom line is you win 3 games, today, you're realistically probably going to draw the world champions. And how cool would it be? Like, how many people get the opportunity where truly you've got an opportunity that if you seize it, 24 hours, you can literally play against the team that won the gold medal a month ago. It's incredible, right? And so we were watching the film on this team, and it was cool. Jesse wasn't with us, but we're texting. We're watching the same match. We're texting back and forth things we're looking at. And we went into that match with a pretty steady game plan. First game, I think we underestimated, we saw how long Fallon was, but just, 4 soft blocks that we just kind of were caught off guard with, shots that were falling the previous day. She was just getting that little extra reach and sending it back. Lost that one 21-18. Second game, we were up 9-3. Couple things happened. The wind picked up a little bit, and I thought we just kind of, the pass and set, we didn't adjust, so just a couple balls off the net and gave them something that they could transition and put away. And then Gina's jump serve took over at the end of it. So, but they fought. It was 2014. They got a side out and an ace to push. Like, I was so proud of them because, at the end of the day, what they got from it is we know we can hang at this level, right? There are things we have to be more consistent with. There are things we have to work. But from a physical perspective, it wasn't like it was too fast for them. The things we wanted to game plan and execute, when we executed it, succeeded. So that was good to know. So, we're going into 2022. They're hoping to continue to play together a little bit. And it was kind of good to kind of see what are the things we're going to work on as we go into the offseason. So it was fun being in the box and coaching, but it's really about them. That's what I was focused on. And I thought, while we didn't get the result we wanted, I think they're in a good position to kind of set the table to keep moving forward. They're young, they're hardworking, they got the tools, so great chemistry. So we'll see how it goes.
I think on the pro scene, I thought about this more for the women than the men, though the men have actually surprised the shit out of me. To have this influx of just things that where upsets are the norm, or just like people just doing better than you expect them to do has become the norm for women's pro scene. I know we're here to talk mostly about club, but I wanted to introduce this. Like we just said, Fallon and Gina was the only team that took a set from Alex and April, right? They're in the qualifier, right? Losing to the next one, they lose to the Brazilians. They don't even make the main draw, and the Brazilians make the finals.
Right.
So, and then you got Nuss and Cloth, right, from the qualifier, winning Atlanta from all the way from the qualifier to the finals. So, it's almost been kind of the norm because there's such a huge bustle, just this blown up. I'm bumbling over my words. Me, the gift of gab. Oh. Me, the gift of gab, bumbling over my own words. This huge blow up of just talent, where we know that Alex and April playing their best ball separate themselves from the pack, but after them, you got everybody. Dude, you got everybody from all the way from the top of the qualifier to the bottom of the main draw to the middle to all the way to the end, man. Look, Team Slays are the other team that made the Olympics, but I don't. If they're playing their best volleyball, and April and Alex are playing their best volleyball, there's still this huge separation. I had them and the Canadians as 1 and 1A, but really, I guess we're all wrong about that one too. Go ahead. Sorry, you're gonna say something.
No, you're good. So, there's a couple things to unpack with that. That's the beauty of our sport. Any given week, it's weird to have teams like April and Alex. That's awesome to have teams that we should look at and respect and emulate for their greatness. But you think about the NBA, NFL, like there are hundreds of players in these pro leagues, right? And especially the NBA right now. Like there's so much talent. The top 40 guys are all, all-star caliber to some extent. And, what we're dealing with in our sport, we're coming off of a pandemic. So even top-level players, everyone's been training. It's been unorthodox. So I without knowing exactly what's going on, some people have been able to train a little bit more than others. At the same time, with only 16 teams making the draw, you're going to have, think about it. You got players that are respectively top 50 in the country, and they're continuously going to need to make make it out of the qualifier. The other thing with our sport and one of the challenges is the point system. That's what makes the Brazilians run in both Manhattan and Chicago that much more impressive to me. They had to play, an extra day of 3 matches and not, again, they had to beat some good teams to get to the main draw.
Right. They had to beat Fallon and Gina.
Right. And Gina's taken 5 seconds and Fallon's, again, that's a team that took the gold medalist to 3 just a couple of weeks before. That's the beauty of competition is regardless of what we have on paper, any given day, like I always felt that my absolute best could beat anyone's worst on any given day. Doesn't mean it's going to happen normally. No, like in 2013, I played the Baumgrens in May in Minnesota and we lost 21-11, 21-10. Like we got smashed. Right. And 2 months later, we play them at Wapaka and we beat them in 3. Like 99 out of 100 times, I'm probably losing that match. But I always wanted as a player, and I always try to instill in my athletes, like when you get on that court, regardless of what the odds are, like if luck is when preparation meets opportunity, you got to do your half of the deal. Yeah. So, you may look and know this team has to slip up for me to really have a legitimate shot because they're physically and more experienced and they're more talented. But man, like why? That's why we play, right? Is the opportunity to do it. And when you make it like that, and I think we're having more and more kids, playing in college. I think even the college game has come so far in the last 5 years, and we're just scratching the surface. I think I still think that the junior scene, there's a lot of good players that can work on their athleticism. There's a lot of good athletes, but I think it's we're battling indoor for a lot of the really strong athletes, right? I'm working with some kids that are coming from indoor that are very high level indoor players, and their parents are saying like, we go to these beach tournaments and we know we're raw on beach, but we don't see kids with our athleticism that are touching over 10 feet at a young age, because at least in our region, there are clubs that absolutely, they say beach is bad for kids. And the purpose of that is because they don't want their kids to get training elsewhere because they want the players to be there and the revenue that comes with it. Not saying all of them, but some of them. So I just think the stigma is starting to get broken despite those people's efforts. I think you're starting to see players that at a young age and parents that while there may be, some more opportunity for scholarships at indoor at this point, I think a lot of them are liking the flexibility with beach training that they may not get when they're on a club team and you have to commit 7 months and be there at certain days and times. With our program, our kids, Kristen and a lot of the Olympians, they play 3 days a week, they live 3 days a week. And beach offers that flexibility in ways that sometimes I don't think we always allow. So I think we're just scratching the surface on the women's game. I think it's only going to get deeper from here. And, you hope that at some point we get our sport to a point where we get back to 24, 32 team draws. Mm-hmm. And, but I think the qualifiers are just as exciting sometimes for the people that really pay attention because there's the excitement of anyone can make it any given day. You're going to have teams that kind of come out of nowhere. You're going to have, again, what an epic matchup to have Fallon and Gina versus the Brazilians for the play-in, and you have that energy for people of like that match. There's a lot at stake. If you lose, you get no money for it and you're done. And if you win it, you at least get a little bit of security.
You get money to show up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it's. If you want to talk about it, I'm going to write an article. Like there are things we need to address within, it was good to get back to things in 2020. You're not going to be able to run these Wednesday, Thursday qualifiers. You're just not going to be able to get people that work full-time jobs. If you want to run 8 to 10 stops, to expect anyone that is not, that has to make a living outside of volleyball to be able to travel. And, again, you're having to take Tuesday off to do travel at that point.
Well, what are your other choices? You shrink the qualifier, right?
So,
Atlantic City, dude, it's about time management. Atlantic City, they had a double elimination qualifier. All right. Winner's bracket was 2 out of 3. Loser's bracket was 1 game to 28. In Atlantic City, where they don't have night lights, they ran a tight ship and they got it done. So, it's as far as what can be done and what can't be done. I don't want to hear the word can't until you make an honest attempt. And look, Atlantic City was the day that everyone kept their promises. They ran a tight ship. If the game was supposed to start at this time, it started earlier or it started on that time. And I was I was a non-believer coming in because I was there to call court 2. Like court 1, center court was Cameron Irwin, and I was there to call court 2. It was $100K purse, so they brought in the talent for center court, and they asked me if it was okay if I wanted to do court 2 by myself. I'm like, sure. I've been on an island, for quite some time. I've been on my own island for quite some time. So, but anyway, whole nother story. That was great feedback for both of us. But as far as 2-day qualifiers, I say, why the hell not?
Because again, let's say we get to the point where we actually have 8 to 10 stops. Mm-hmm. You're going to. How are people that might only get 1 or 2 weeks of paid time off? How are people that have kids that can't just leave their family?
They have a decision to make, then, don't they?
What did you say?
Then they have a decision to make. But is
that good for the sport?
With being a professional comes sacrifice, just like theater performance. Right, you got to take time off to rehearse. If you have to travel to do a set, maybe theater, that film can compensate you, and maybe there's some kind of like you said, some kind of reimbursement or some kind of monetary gain just for showing up. But with Bally's taking over and with volleyball possibly going the right direction. These guys gotta ask themselves, do you want to be a fucking volleyball player? Of course, it's gonna be inconvenient. Of course, you're gonna have to travel. Of course, there's gonna have to be a lot of things on your dime. But
why of course? Huh? Why does it have to be inconvenient?
Because that's the reality. Until that changes, that's the reality. I'm not talking about what could be. I'm talking about what is now.
So do we want to look at that and say, well, that's just the way it is, or do we want to say, okay, we've not had a sustainable tour, like? We could look at it as a positive thing that Bally's took it, or we could look at it yet again, someone coming in who had the money. Mm-hmm. And I'm thankful for Donald Sun bringing this tour and for the last 10 years giving us opportunity. But I've said it's not a judgment, it's an observation. My concern was when he leaves, is he going to leave a business model that's sustainable when your owner doesn't have a checkbook that can incur loss after loss? So point being is, again, I understand this is how it's had to be. I'm not knocking the fact that it had to be the summer. What I'm telling you is, what I know from other sports is what matters is personalities, stars, branding, right? Mm-hmm. And if you get to a point, we could talk about being professional, right? But it's like the money in the sport. There was just Emily Day just posted for the FIVB talking about first place purse 5 years ago was $57,000. Now it's down to 26, right? And someone asked, like, well, why do you think that is? And she said, well, the promoters are not making the money back. And from a business perspective, what my goal is to have a tour that actually generates revenue. And right now we don't have that, right? So I understand that what we have today is a tour that, decent prize money. The people at the very, very top might be able to do this full time, but we need personalities and players. And if you have people that come out of college and maybe they're a top 50 player in the country and they can work their way up, right? But they need to take a job that doesn't allow them in the summer. You're right. They got to make a decision. But doesn't it hurt our sport to just be like, hey, if you value having, a steady income and a job, you can't participate in all this. I think we should be saying, this is so here's my idea, because this is what I've been thinking for a while.
Please.
What if the AVP picked some of the densest markets? And what if, as much as and don't get me wrong, you can have places like Chicago, you can have places like Manhattan, right? But what if they built venues that could actually be used by that respective community in the summer, right? So let's say we built, what are they typically using right now? Eight courts tops, if that. What they have in Chicago for the main draw? 3 courts?
Yeah.
So what if we built venues, right, that could actually generate money when the tour's not in town, right? You have leagues there, you have clinics there, right? You have people overseeing that venue. And then let's say we had 5 or 6 places. Let's say Florida, Texas, California, Ohio, because I think they deserve it, Chicago. And I'm not trying to leave anyone out. Don't anyone watching this, don't get mad at me.
No, you're trying to make a point here.
So 5 places, right? What if leading up to a draw on a weekend, each place, like football, right? Like, okay, this is the Saturday, Sunday. you're going to have a qualifier in each region, and someone in each respective region gets a main draw. And then we don't have this draw. And the nice thing is then these qualifier teams are actually fresh for their first matches in the main draw, right? Think about the storylines you would have, right? And I'll tell you right off that. I know what some people are going to say. Well, you got all these people in California. Well, the teams that come out of certain regions, they're not as strong. Great. Watch some of these people move to those regions that really want to make the draw, right? And what you're going to build is a couple things. One, you're going to take some of the operating costs of an event down, because instead of renting this huge beach bill, like you could own it and it's making money for, in our area, probably from May to September. It's generating revenue as it's going on, right? And you're also building who's going to actually attend these events when you have them, right? You're going to build whoever makes it from each region. You better believe that team is going to have the most people around their court, regardless of whether they have an actual shot of upending some of these giants, right?
Yeah.
You're going to build this region versus region, that excitement that you feel when you go to Wrigley Field or Soldier Field. Again, we've talked about this. I don't go to watch baseball. I go because irrationally, I'm watching my team versus another team, and you feel that energy in the crowd. And that's when I think volleyball is most exciting. It's not when you have a bunch of volleyball diehards that are cheering for good volleyball. It's when you have a crowd that really is rooting for one side and not the other, right? And the current system is both difficult for the player, and it's not building these storylines. So, if someone's listening,
where's the logical connection between what you just suggested and player cost efficiency of people who are trying to make it, though, right? They got to come in an extra weekend. Isn't that more days for them?
No, what I'm saying is, okay, so we've got these qualifiers, right? They're local. So Chicago people are going to stay in Chicago. Ohio people are going to stay in Ohio. Florida people are going to stay in Florida. Cali people are going to stay in Cali. And it's going to be like, and all day, you're watching the results from each place to see who's going to get in for, what's the first event of the year? I always forget.
It's usually Huntington.
Or Huntington? Okay.
I mean, on a normal, before the world went to hell, it was Huntington.
2 weeks, before Huntington, we have a weekend where all these regions have their own qualifier, and one team or two teams, whatever the numbers would be, the winner of it, we don't pay cash. They get their flight, they get a hotel, and they're going to be in the main draw. And then you don't have the qualifier the day before. You're basically qualifying for the event leading up to it. Then the next event,
I 100% agree.
So what I'm saying is it going to take work? Of course it's going to take work. But we have to recognize that we're blazing a trail here. We're dealing with a sport that has not made money since the cigarette companies and the alcohol companies have not been using it as a way to add to a already party environment. Well, let's introduce the elephant in the room. Our sport in the golden days was not popular because the old school rules were better and the new school rules were better. We were popular because the beaches back then did not have the same rules on liquor, and cigarette companies like look at Ken Steffes' post. He lays it out. That's why the sport made money. And when those companies left, and I had another player on the tour that I had dinner once with, and this is his story. He said there was a tournament, I think it was Santa Monica. Obviously people were drinking. There was a scuffle. Police tried to break it up. People started to not treat the police properly. And from that point on, that changed the dynamic of what was allowed on the beach. And once certain things were restricted, the money that was supporting the tour was gone, right? I mean, Ken said, I was 19 playing my first final and the crowd's yelling at me to wrap it up so we can get to the wet t-shirt contest. Okay. It's 2021. Our new demographic is 11 to 18-year-old kids and their family, whether we want it or not. Like the party scene, we can hold on to the past, and we're going to continue year to year to not have a model that's actually generating the money we want, right? And the big challenge on top of that is I feel we have two different types of brass in the volleyball community that have goals. You've got the people running the juniors events that are making a butt ton of money. And they don't want to turn these kids into small money spectators that support pro players. They want these kids to pay more money. They want them to pay $100 to $200 or more sometimes to do these showcases, right? So the problem is we've got the demographic right in front of us that can generate interest in the tour. But there are powers that be that aren't interested in that because they're making more money with them as players. And so we got to find a way to combine that. And my opinion is building actual locations that are sustainable when there's not a tour, that are dedicated to volleyball, right? You get your juniors revenue, right? And then when they come into town, like your juniors that play at these locations are going to be, run something for them. Instead of a qualifier, run something for them, right? Maybe run something for them where you get to the last two teams and then in between matches, they can do their final on Stadium Court or something like that. There's so much we can do. The interest is there. Are the powers that be willing to put the grunt work in to build a foundation so that we can capitalize on this 11 to 18U boom instead of competing with it? Because right now we are.
But that's not the question. The question is, are the powers that be are they willing to share that? Are they willing to share that? I'll give you an example. Coconut Beach. It's a great example of the possibility, heightened level of success that having a permanent regional scene where the AVP can come in. I was going to go into this whole soliloquy or spiel about how AVP America or AVP Next, whatever the hell you want to call it. I like AVP America because these aren't Next players anymore. These Next players are actually winning on the tour. So Coconut Beach has their own place. They do juniors year round. They do adult tournaments on the weekends. They had this magnificent AVP America thing in the first week or whatever. I was calling center court, and I guess what I'm trying to say is I agree with you because I've seen it work with my own two eyes in just one place, and I have this imagination in my head like, what if they do that for Bradford Beach? I had Tomas Goldsmith on the podcast last week. Cool dude, man. Kind of cold. I'm kind of warm, kind of cold. So we hit it off.
He's very straight faced.
I like him. He's an interesting guy. I said that on my podcast. I want the interesting and the interested, and he's look. I don't think I'm gonna get any more or less out of Phil than what I got out of Tomas. So Florida, what Dave Palm's doing down there. All of these things support or correlation that support what you're proposing. Have this indefinite thing, but I don't want. I guess the question is: do you want the AVP or one entity to have to be a governing body over all of these regions that shape throughout the year? Do you think that's where the success comes from? Because that's the part that hasn't worked. Someone else is doing all the work, and it's supposed to be like a partnership. So, there should be some kind of equity. Coconut Beach was equity. I wouldn't have commentated center court. If that was run by the AVP, I wouldn't have been on center court. They would have brought in their own people. Sean and those guys literally had to fight for me to go up there because they were looking for best man for the job. And thank you for that, by the way. Sorry.
But you're talking about pre-existing locations. Right. What I'm saying is for the AVP, right?
Go ahead.
I'm looking at it from their perspective, and what I'm trying to do is minimize operating costs, right? And to come into a place where you're renting area for one event, and you're going to build this 6-figure stadium court setup, right? Okay. The costs are astronomical. But if you can go like right now in Chicago, right? Like I know the Iconic with we've got the skyline. Sorry, I don't know why I was struggling with that word. People like playing in front of that. But let's say there's a location that doesn't have a venue of like Coconut Beach quality already, right? But there's a market for it. Okay. If the AVP could one time come in, buy a piece of land that was cost effective, build it, put someone in place locally to oversee it and generate revenue with it. And then the kind of one of the stipulations, hey, we're going to build it. We're going to take it, we're going to work with Todd Napton or whoever, they would get for the sand expert. We're going to build these state-of-the-art courts. We're going to build something that when we come in as a tour, it's going to be up to the par of what the players want. It's going to be great for spectating, right? There's you can make it exactly what you want to do. And the trade-off is whoever is running it locally, like you're going to pay a monthly rent for overseeing it, but you can run leagues at night, you could run juniors clinics, you can run weekend events, except for we're going to come in, there's qualifiers on these dates, and you have to run the qualifiers on these dates,
right?
And you have to run the main draw, like these are the dates we're going to do it, right? So your point is valid. Like when you have a pre-existing place that's already making money, they already have the community, right?
But but Coconut's not an outlier. You can go to New York. You can go to Chelsea Piers, an indoor facility that's already set up. There's already a league there. all right.
So my point.
Pier
so my
25.
Point is
there's already a league there. The Brooklyn Bridge, the Pier 6, and this isn't even a volleyball heavy city. Okay, they're indoor. Well, sorry, beach volleyball indoor. They're overweight. Sorry.
No, so that's my point. I'm not saying go somewhere like in the backyard of someone who now immediately you're butting heads, right? But what I'm saying is if you've got a place, there are places on the map, like even Chicago suburbs right now. We've got one of the densest juniors volleyball populations in the country.
Right.
And in the suburbs, the amount of courts, the demand exceeds the supply. It's not even close, right? So do we have room for someone to come in and still have the ability to do it? Yeah. You're never going to come in for a slice of the pie and not have people that look at that as a threat. It's going to happen, right? But again, what the root cause of what I'm trying to get down to is I want to see the AVP have a model that allows the players to have, if you don't have the money to give the players a steady income where they can truly dedicate a summer and not take a hit to their standard of living, then we need to make a model that makes it more realistic for them and do so in a manner that doesn't just put you in the red. And so my thought is if there's all this challenge, like if we want to get structure and stability, why not, and obviously we've seen the issues with beach permits and stuff like that. Why not do a one-time, it's going to cost, probably high 7, low 8 figures, put some places in different places of the country where you've got the community and build a system that generates regional excitement, right? And frankly, again, now you're building venues that honestly, even if the tour didn't come to town, if you build, like, it's going to be a lot of operating costs to build it at the beginning, but I know what it can generate when you actually have a bar and adult leagues. I mean, that's where the money's at our sport. It's Rec 6's leagues with alcohol. So why not leverage that? And again, not only are you doing that, it's there's so many different things you can win on. You build storylines for these local regional main draws or regional qualifiers, right? And some people are not going to like it. They're going to say certain regions, people get in, like all these Cali people are sitting at home because they didn't make it because it's deeper. Well, goes to your original point. That
Cowboy,
are we a pro tour, a national pro tour or not? If we're a national pro tour, we can't expect to have nationwide storylines when 99% of our people live in a 25-mile radius. We got to spread it out a little bit. And if people want to live in the Mecca, that's fine. But I think it provides more locally. The qualifier. There's more excitement. People are walking around looking for the local talent because they want to watch the locals and see how they stack up against the best.
And that's what moves the volleyball needle as far as coverage in that region is. I mean, Chicago is really exciting because of that. I mean, you're gonna have your outliers, right? You got Devin Berkey, John Schwengel that will like phase 1. Survive, phase 2 survive, they get into the main draw. You know what I'm saying? And John's actually going to come on the podcast next Wednesday. But a guy who travels full time. Sometimes he's in a draw, sometimes he's whatever, but he's dedicated. He was in he went to China, did the under 21s, did all this and that. So an example of a kid who's out there who's good for the sport. And I think your argument is you want the sport to love him as much as he loves it. And I think I get that argument. And you think as far as moving the volleyball needle, those things kind of take care of each other if they can do that.
An interesting conversation. And the truth is they may have been burnt out.
Yeah.
But would players like Stafford Slick and Summer Ross have retired as early as they did from the sport if it wasn't so hard to make it? Right. And again, it's you can sit there and say, hey, that's the nature of the beast. Okay. I can see that that's what reality is today. But man, if I'm running a tour, like I want to create a model that puts anyone that might be marketable in a way that benefits our brand to have opportunity to play. Yeah. And to have a qualifier that requires minimum 3 days off and 4 if you make the draw, right?
Right.
We're going to limit our talent pool if we make it something where it's like you can be a beach bum and travel and do the grind, and it's going to be like, yeah, it's exciting. You get to meet some of the top players of the world. I mean, the stories are, some of the most fun times of my life were the qualifiers and the life around it. But yeah, pay your bills at the end of the day. And if the sport can't do it, like, I don't know. If I was,
but Brian, all I'm trying to say is I'm interrupting right now. But all I'm trying to say is they need to do a better job putting up the people who are keeping their promises. All right, Jeff Samuels. He didn't make the draw. Do you know what the hell he did? He went to Motherlode. He went to Colorado and won. All right. And right now, Jeff Samuels with Isopure and being the spokesperson for Hyundai in Michigan and for Fort Lauderdale, Florida, is probably making just as much money as Taylor Crabb, who's getting his $1,800 a month for the Oakley Shades. All right. So that's a dude out there hard working. That's a dude out there who I think he's one partner away from being in the semifinals and the finals. I mean, the best partner he's ever had in his tour career was Michael Brunstein, for Christ's sakes, okay? And the AVP Americas, he played with Ricardo, all right? And that's a different level, but he won with Ricardo. So I'm just trying to say that there has to be, and I think we're going to the same place. First, there has to be a level of inclusivity as far as like this volleyball, we're all united, we're all one volleyball heart bullshit, okay? That's one. Second, if the AVP and the people who have not been inclusive keep their promises, the players, like you said, the players who's supposed to move the needle, the strong personalities, or the introverts who are so good, like Phil or like Karch in the beginning, where they don't. Their play is so good, their play does the talking. Okay, so you're gonna have that combination of people. But if we get to a point where the players get what they want, they gotta want what they got, man. You gotta be out there and be dope. That's so circling back to the beginning. What I was talking about was there's a reality, and I know it's expensive, but I'm telling you, these days, these people are taking off. I live out here. I'm like, what are you up to today? Why aren't you training? They're not training. They're training the way they want to. They're training in ways that they think that works. That's not working. All right. I just had freaking Sharif, and I'm all over the place right now, from Qatar, talk about how he doesn't do training groups. Okay, if he wants a scrimmage or if he training groups, it's once a month. I think there has to be a direction for the people that do move the needle and that can move the sport and put butts in seats and get sponsors. We need to find a way to love those people as much as they love it. And that was the point I was trying to make. The point you were trying to make is there's a reality, and how do we change that reality? And on the regional scene, I see it bits and pieces, and I think it will work if we had more Coconut Beach situations. Do you get what I'm saying?
Kind of. For being honest,
all over the place. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think we're on the same. Like, the players have to brand themselves as well. Like, they got to be proactive. Like, they're going to do themselves. Like, that's, Sinjin took every promotional opportunity when they went to a venue, right?
But Sinjin took care of the volleyball part. I'm not talking about that.
I'm saying Sinjin would go to radio stations, like local sporting goods stores. Like, he would literally, I don't remember when Boston.
But then he still had to be good, Brian. He still had to be good. He had to be good, right?
I guess I like you're coming at me about the talent of the players and the drive, and I'm not following. We're having a discussion. I'm not on the same page with. Like, what I'm not disagreeing that the players have to do a certain thing and they got to make sure that they're training and whatnot.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, if someone finally gives these players this opportunity, be fucking ready. Be in the best shape of your life. Come with that champ stuff that comes with the move the needle, the other stuff.
But let me ask you, looking at the last 20 years, and if a player is someone with a family and financial obligations, what just my opinion, right? What have we seen that gives them the confidence that it is going to change and they do need to be ready for it? I'm not saying they shouldn't. Of course they should, right? That's on them if they're not. But if you're asking me, like, if I had money and you asked me to invest in one of the major volleyball brands right now, I'm not doing it.
No.
As a business person, my heart wants to, because I want our sport to thrive.
No, but your wife would drop kick you.
But well, I'm just saying, we just watched a billionaire for a decade maintain a tour. But when his checkbook walked away, was it the purses have dropped, the size of the draws have dropped, the expectations on how long the qualifier players have to be there is growing. We see these events that are, at the grassroots, they're starting to they ran a tournament with a $10,000 purse down in Coconut Beach, and they had $16,000 worth of player fees coming in. I'm just saying, as a player, why would you have that confidence of why is Bally's going to take us to the promised land right now? And I hope I'm wrong. I've wanted to be wrong for the last 10 years, but I don't think I don't see it right now. I'm not saying I think Bally's isn't going to work out. I don't see what they're bringing that's changing the things that have, in my opinion, been what's held our sport with a blatant ceiling over it.
Agreed. Well, I think what Bally's brings is at least the opportunity to have more eyes on what the AVP and what beach volleyball is doing. And if people are like, oh, this might be interesting and this and that, I want to take a look. And if what they take a look at is like, boring or like you got 4 players spending the entire first set doing a feeling out process, a team that they played over and over and over again, someone that's not playing the sport, even someone that is playing the sport, it's like, I already know what's going to happen here. I'm turning this off. I'm turning this on else. That's what I was talking about. It's a combination. To me, it's a combination of everything. Right? I mean, the AVP every year always seems to start with good sponsors, and then they're down the KT tape. Okay, so it's maybe you were also onto something like alcohol and cigarettes. Let me tell you something. Having Corona, or what was it back then? Jose Cuervo,
Jose
tequila.
Cuervo, Miller had their Fours series. Like all of them have been involved with it.
But
so
that's the question. Why did that work? That worked because you had the personalities.
Because there was a party scene at the beach with volleyball as part of it.
Right.
People didn't come to the beach specifically to watch the volleyball. It's part, like the diehards obviously, wanted to know whether it was going to be Karch and Kent or Randy and St. John that year or that tournament. But again, I'm just looking at it saying, okay, and again, I'm excited in the aspect. I agree. Bally's has the ability to get eyes on the sport. Regardless of the play X's and O's, like, again, what you need is the personalities. Like, we need people to tune in to watch this team against that team. You watch UFC, like, people want to watch this person knock that person out. Like, no one just watches and says, I want to watch a fight. Like, the storylines. And we get so fixated on the TV deals and the but we don't actually we're not generating something that gets people's heart in it. Right. Where week to week, I want to see how my player does against these players. Yeah. Right. And
you're right. You need a Chael Sonnen for an Anderson Silva. Right.
And I just think it'd be so cool. Start small. Start small. 4 to 6 regions. Right. You could even do depending on the numbers. You could do like Saturday have these 3, or Sunday have these 3. You can modify.
But you brought up a great example for my other viewers who are also UFC fans or mixed martial arts fans. Anderson Silva for a long time was the greatest fighter in the world. Chael Sonnen became a rival. Just called him out on every network, every this and that or whatever. When they finally got to fight, Chael Sonnen dominated 4.5 rounds of the 5 rounds. And with 1 minute 31 seconds left, a desperation, Anderson Silva slapped on a triangle choke. He was forced to tap out. The point of me interrupting you is you got that personality, right? That personality put the butts in seats. This is the most important thing. He put his money where his mouth was. He delivered. And that's what I'm asking for volleyball players to do. You got personalities. You got people that can attract people. And when eyes are on you, it is up to you to fucking deliver. Make sure your P's and Q's are right. They have not been delivering, Bryan.
But they've got to survive. And I can't talk about California. So you got people that you see and they're not doing the right thing. Yeah. Okay, so be it. What I'm telling you is in our region, like it takes sacrifice to run a family, work a job, and then travel to do even like the AVP next to get the points to have a better chance at the qualifiers, right? We're not, if you want people to show up, then give them the opportunity and the resources. That doesn't mean you don't get to have a family. You don't get to have a steady income. Like it's just in a pandemic, that's not how the world works.
No, you're
and
right.
we're being naive to that. If we're just holding like, well, just show up. And they're sitting there like, well, okay, I'm showing up and I'm taking 33rds and I'm a top 100 player in the country and I don't have a dime of prize money to show for it.
No, you're losing money. You're losing money. 33rd is you're losing money. You're paying the play.
You're losing money at 17s.
You're paying the play. Yeah.
You know?
So, look at that. Hold on.
Good.
Isn't that sweet? Let's press record maybe, huh? There you go. Let's go back to that camera that shows more of my red eye. I think we're going the same direction as we're going to shut the door on the pro scene in a minute. You are basically saying give these guys who are 33rd an opportunity where they're not living on their needs. And I'm saying if Bally's is able to do that and say, here's some sponsorship money, here's some cheddar cheese to travel, here's the first 600 for your hotel rooms. What I'm saying is if that happens, God pray, man, deliver your product, dude.
Let me
deliver
tell you
your
right
product.
Now, if in my region,
please.
if a venue showed up that was partnered with the AVP, and we knew that we were going to have weekend qualifiers on certain dates, and the winner of that qualifier was going to get an auto bid into a main draw 2 weeks later, you don't think that would light a fire? You don't think that would give the incentive? Because wait, I don't have to take all this vacation. You're going to get a better product from the players because you're giving them incentive and taking a lot of the risk away.
Yes.
And that's my point. Is like, I'm just telling you, I think a lot of people probably go about it in a, they don't want to get too emotionally involved, because when you get that emotionally involved and you don't get the opportunity, you're going to destroy your psyche. You're going to say, you're going to look back and say, I love volleyball, but I did all that time and now I'm playing catch up with my life. I mean, there's stories about volleyball players that maxed out credit cards, right?
Yeah.
To like do the travel, live the life, be the pro player. And they're going to be 40 years old and have nothing to show for it. And now they got a hole they got to dig themselves out of. So again, I'm not saying you to give, right? That's what I'm saying with the AVP. Create something that can generate money for the brand beyond the tournaments.
Agreed.
Again, I know what places can make with sixes leagues and juniors training. Mm-hmm. So make venues in locations that don't have it. You're helping that community. You're building your fan base. You're building better opportunities for the players in those regions. Mm-hmm. And you're gonna again, you want to talk about getting viewership. Well, imagine if they structured, with the time zone changes. Okay, hey, Saturday night, I know at 4 p.m. Central Time, I've got the East Coast final at 6 p.m. We can make it something where we start building.
Definitely. But it has to be. But do you see what I was getting at with inclusiveness? I'll give you this podcast alone. My viewership, because I finally know how to do my own analytics. Because I'm talking to agents right now, and they're like, "What are your analytics?" And like my viewership is basically 3-1 outside of where I live. I live in Hermosa Beach, California. My viewership of people that are not in this region, the people that view and watch this podcast, 3-1 outside of the region, because the guys that live here, they like me. They ain't gonna listen. They're not. A lot of them aren't watching us. They don't care much for that.
I just think it means that you're worldwide, and again, you got people that watch you around. If anything, you could look at that saying, well, people aren't watching. What I would say is, well, you got a quarter of your fan base from one area. I would argue that says a lot of people are watching.
That's a win. Yeah, that's a win. So, but I think, don't you think that somehow we need to create people who transcend the sport? Like in the last 30 years, the names that transcend volleyball is Misty May, Kerry Walsh, and Karch Karai. people, when I say transcend, for the people listening, Bryan knows already and he's shaking his head, but we got to educate the people that don't know what the hell I'm talking about, because more often than not, people are like, I don't know what the hell Jason's talking about.
If I talk to my
people,
parents and
if
ask
you
what
don't
players
play
they
the
do.
sport and don't watch the sport, know who you are. That's transcendence. If I don't watch wrestling and I know who Hulk Hogan is, that man's name transcends the sport. That's what I'm talking about. Michael Jordan, right? Who kids who aren't even born yet know who he is. Transcends the sport. And we need volleyball. We need another one or two names that can carry that for us.
We need volleyball players that are known in our sport before we get to that point. Like, that's my point.
Yeah.
Is like right now, like, I got a couple kids. I had a kid that two sisters that went downtown. They ran into Muno, and she was blown away that they knew who she was on the street. Right? It wasn't at the venue. It was on the Magnificent Mile. Right? Mm-hmm. That, like, most juniors couldn't take players in a lineup and tell you who's who. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, one step at a time. And the first step is we have to build the storylines within our sport. Right?
Yeah.
So that people that are fans in our sport, even moderate to casual fans, hey, this tour is coming to town, and my friend that doesn't have anything going on with you, you're going to want to go here, and they can generate the excitement because they understand it. And right now, what I'm telling you is our largest demographic of potential viewers for our pro tour. It's not debatable. It's 11 to 18 and their families. People can disagree with it. Cite your sources, because that's where we have 450,000 high school girls playing volleyball, and it's growing by the thousands every year.
100%.
So what are we doing to get those people to want to tune in and engage and transcend the tour itself locally? Like, how do we get these players to be common names with kids that love the sport, right? So that they can look up to them, so that they can want to go see them. Frankly, where's the apparel? Why do we not have custom tanks and jerseys for players and selling that and building branding with that?
Right? Why am I wearing a Marymount Manhattan t-shirt? Nah.
So I'm just saying, like, the Crabs have their shorts, and that's cool, dude. Like, but we should be doing that on a larger scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the Crabs, to their credit, they built their own brand. Like Evan Corey right now,
right?
But Blue Nose Athletics, right?
Which is brilliant. I love the fact that he found something is a blue nose, but that's like in a year or two, people that pay attention to beach volleyball are going to know exactly what that means, right? We could sit here, if I was running the tour, and say the players need to do this. Mm-hmm. What I was hoping Donald Sun would do, because I knew when he took over and the NVL and the AVP were still kind of button heads, right? It wasn't a very well kept secret that he paid the top 8 players per gender a salary to be exclusive to their tour.
Right.
And I love that, but he could have done more with it. Hey, I'm going to pay you this stipend, and on top of that, I'm going to add, an extra day. I'm going to add hotel, and you're going to go to these tour stops, and we're gonna take care of it. Like, you're going to get off the plane. You're going to get in this car. We're going to take you to this club, and you're going to go speak to this club, right? Like, there's so much more we could have done. Like, if the players aren't doing it, we could sit here and say, well, the players need to be more involved. Or if I was running the show and I had that type of money and I was paying that type of money, give them a little incentive, but show the players how to be more proactive with it. And if the players don't, then the next one up. Because I guarantee you that if player number 7 or 8 are like, hungry I don't want to do that.
They're hungry
and all
enough.
of a sudden, number 9 and 10 step up and do it. And all of a sudden, they're like, well, that player's getting money I am not getting. And all I had to do was talk to some kids and hand out some free tickets. Like, let's stop pointing fingers at one or the other and say, okay, and I'm going to put the onus on the group with the checkbook. Because if these players aren't doing it on their own, what that's telling you is you're not providing a product that has that incentive. And whether people think that's fair or not, well, again, I'm just going from experience. I watch what these players do. I watch the sacrifices they make in their lives. I watch in Chicago how we're getting up at 6 a.m. or going, at 6 a.m. because they got to work a job. And at night, all the courts outside are either buggy or have adult leagues, right? Like, players are doing everything they can to make it work. And it's not a glorious life.
No.
And I'm not saying you need to pamper them. But
you're speaking for a large demographic. I totally agree with you. Look, I'm from New York, and I know how it feels to only be able to actually play beach volleyball like 4 months out of the year, which really means 3. Chelsea Piers, expensive as hell. It's an indoor facility, but for a price. So, I mean, people are looking for military discounts, for Christ's sakes, and didn't even serve in the military. I get you, and I didn't get you before, because I'm sitting in the place where they have an opportunity to train 12 months out of the year. The courts are available. If the league's playing here one night, we got like 9 courts over here. So for me, I wasn't giving a lot of the players the same pass that I'm not saying you're giving them a pass either, but the level of understanding. I'm 5 years removed from that, so that was just a great. I felt like I wasted 20 minutes of our time like talking about that.
No,
Bryan was trying to get to a point here. Sorry, go ahead.
But we had to get there, right? Like that's. Yeah. Look, I know in 2021 everyone wants things to be in a meme or a tweet. Mm-hmm. Things of this, like we're literally talking about how do you fix a national volleyball tour? Mm-hmm. You can't. All the things you said were valid, right? We have to unpeel the layers. So like, I don't think it was a waste of time. I think we have to consider all those perspectives to get to that point, because we couldn't get there otherwise. So I'm all for, we have. That's how people that come from different perspectives, not even I don't think we differed on what we believe. But you come from an area that's much different than mine. Yeah. And the only way for us to get to that point is for you to give me a little understanding of, okay, well, he's seeing this with players in his area, and that makes sense on why he felt the way he did. Mm-hmm. And I can provide on like, well, this is what it's like in mine. So it's not like, well, you're wrong and I'm right. It's we got that mutual understanding. So no, I think I really enjoyed that conversation. I don't know but
it's a super necessary conversation because of the demographic of people that listen to this that listen to this. Look, the guys out here, they don't understand what your plight was and the plight of your players. I mean, until you say that, like 12 months out of the year versus 4 months out of the year. Come on, right? And I mean, the real question is why those guys who only get to practice on the beach 4 months out of the year housing you guys who are playing, right? Come on, they don't even have a beach.
but we got indoor courts. We got the ability to take care of our bodies. We got
you guys are
the greats. But look at the Bobgrins.
But are you not sending a message that the rest of the world is, right? The Norwegians, right? They won the Olympic gold medal. They don't even have a tan. They don't even have a tan. All right.
They can ball.
Qatar, look, it's hot out there, almost hot to a fault, but they're not out there with big ass training groups and this and that. Man, dude, that's an episode you got to listen to. Not just because he's this really fun personality. We had a great conversation about back row defense transition with Ahmed, right? Because like you were talking about, like this guy on the world scene should be blown up right now. He is the top. He is a top right now as far as top 5 defenders. I put him number 2, only behind Christian Sorum. All right, you got Lupo, you got Guto, Alvaro, and Bruno, everyone from Brazil. You got, I'm name dropping here. Somewhere between 5 and 10, you got Taylor Crabb. A lot of people consider, and I sound like I'm disrespecting Taylor because I said this before. I don't consider him top 5. I consider him top 10 because it's disrespectful to even put him in the same realm of someone as Ahmed and Christian Sorum. He's good, but you can't do it yet. So how's that for outing people? Like I don't give a fuck. But I
mean, it's all at the end of the day. We're sitting in our chairs. I'm not. We could sit and say based on what we've watched, right? Like you could say, here's the things I've watched, and this is what I feel.
Are we experts though? Yes, we are. We need to stop acting like we're laymen's here. No, we are fucking experts. You learn the game, you mastered it, you teach it. You're an expert.
But I will never sit here, right? I might have my opinion. Like, let's say I even agree with that. On that, I would never. If someone let's say I felt Taylor Crabb was a top 5 defender in the world, right?
Yep.
You and I could discuss it.
Sure.
And at no point would I look at what I've seen and what I feel and say, I'm an expert, so I believe this and you're wrong, right? No. That's one of the things I hate about ESPN. I hate when we sit and we I'm all for talking about, I like this world-class defender more than this other world-class defender because of these things. But Taylor Crabb can absolutely on any given day beat one of those two people you mentioned. We have to be aware of that, right? So
but okay, go ahead. Sorry.
My point is, right, if they played and Taylor and his partner beat them, right? Like I couldn't sit there and just be like, you're an idiot for your take on the fact that they're better, right? And frankly, even if they didn't, you could say, hey, like they're clearly their accolades, they've gone further. But anytime we deal with the greats and we split hairs, like they're on the world tour. That, like, when you're the best 10, the fact that you're in the best 10 in the world, right? Like, I don't think the slight is saying, well, I think they're only 6 through 10. I think the slight to us, ourselves, is to sit here and act like there's an objective way to just say, like, just like, let's appreciate greatness. Like,
Bryan, if the operative word here in this conversation is slight, we just need to omit that word. Me saying Taylor Crabb is a top 10 defender, not top 5, is not a slap in the face to him. And I understand a lot of people might take it that way because only second to only NBA players, volleyball players are the most sensitive fucking cats you ever met in your life. It's not a slap in the face to say that. Okay, and as far as opinions are concerned, there are opinions by expert that some people might carry some weight, but like you said, it doesn't mean we're right. Doesn't mean we're right. Well, look, I could say the Chicago Bulls in '96 are going to win every game and be wrong 10 out of the I'm gonna be right 72 times and wrong 10 times. All right, remember that championship season or the Golden State Warriors, right? I could be wrong. I'm gonna be wrong 9 times and right 73 times. It doesn't mean I'm always right. I just as someone who watches the sport, who played the sport, who coaches the sport, who commentates on the sport, who teaches the sport, we don't give ourselves enough credit to have opinions because we're always scared about what some little sensitive cat's gonna think about that. Just stop, man.
It's not,
miss me on that one.
It's not about I'm worried about sensitivity of these players. I'm sitting here and okay, so I can sit here and say I've coached for 17 years, coached Division I, played at a certain level. They're the ones in the arena, and I just it goes back to that Roosevelt quote. Like, have
you not been in the arena?
I have, but which is why I would never go as far as to watch anyone in real time,
right?
And be critical. I could say, I think if this player added this to their game or did this differently, that I think it would take them to a higher level.
Okay.
But again, what my point is, and I'm not saying this is what you were doing. I just you hit something and it hit that trigger. Like, I hate that. I lived in Chicago, right?
Yep.
Mitch Trubisky didn't live up to other people's expectations. Like, that's the way I look at it, right?
They could have had Mahomes. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, but here's the deal. How many teams passed on Mahomes that, looking back on it, wouldn't have if they knew what they like? Benefit of hindsight. My point is, I don't like in sports when it's fun to discuss the pros and cons of different players, right? But when we have these hard takes, when I watch Stephen A. and Max go at it, and it's like, oh, it's preposterous that you would think one thing, and as well as I do that it's to get people interested in it, right?
Yes,
and that's all well and good, but again, maybe I'm sensitive to it because I'm watching my kids and how much they fear mistakes and how much they fear, every mistake is an opportunity to learn something, especially in our sport, right? Like basketball, football, I could know everything I need to know about a mechanic. If I've got a guy that has a physicality that I can't match, there's nothing I can do. With volleyball, when you don't get the result you want, the ball hit point A, you hit it at point B, or you want to hit at point A, it hit point B. You were supposed to be in spot A, you were in spot B, right? Like, there's always a lesson. And I get so many kids that I think they watch these 24/7 networks that literally, like, think about Giannis and what's happened when he won that championship. Well, if Kevin Durant has a size 14 shoe instead of a size 17 shoe, the storyline is about how the Bucks were a failure and that they need to break the team up, right?
Yeah, that 3-pointer, that was a 2, right? For reminding our audience.
We don't objectively recognize how small the margin is that can separate Giannis, the world champion, the next great, the Buck that did the right thing by staying, and this much. And those same news pundits are going to sit there and say, we got to blow this team up. He should have left, blah, 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 blah. Right.
That's crazy.
But
that's outside of the scope of the sport. That's not what I was doing.
So I'm saying that, but I'm even saying in our sport, right? And again, we're coming off, there's so many factors that go with it. Again, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if you said, hey, pick one defender, yeah, it's Sorm. No doubt about it. I love Sharif and Ahmed. But I just think,
and we love us some Taylor Crabb.
I wish we could spend more time talking about just specifically why we like, what are the skills that one does at 1 or 2 that separate them from 5, 6, 10? You know what I mean? And instead we make it about and we talk about the players, and regardless of their, I'm just saying, like, sometimes people come and you say, well, maybe I feel the other way. Well, how do you feel that way? Right. We make it emotional instead of just like, okay, well, what are the things you see that make you feel that way? And that's where the really fun conversations are.
Do you know what they have in common? Do you know what Ahmed and Taylor Crabb have in common? When they get a dig,
peripheral division.
When they get a dig, I'm at the edge of my seat because in my heart of hearts, I know Akil's gonna follow. Every time they get a dig, and this is I've gotten this 10 times with Taylor, then, because the sample size is bigger. I get to watch Taylor more than I get to watch Ahmed. But every time those two, there's one thing they have in common. Every time they get a dig, you're at the edge of your seat because you know a kill's gonna happen. It's just about how. Is he gonna cut over? Is his eyes gonna get big because he sees deep corner hit? Like Manhattan Beach match point is up on Phil and Nick 2018, or Ahmed, like the set's behind his head. Is he gonna adjust, or is he still gonna hit the shit out of it cross court? The one thing that just makes them too entertaining as hell to watch. If I had to just pick one thing, and this is just bringing it back to the positive thing, when one of those guys get a dig, I'm like this, and then you're like, and then it's like, yes, that's your reaction. Dig, you wait, and then boom, kill. So, but getting back to what I was saying, you will rarely hear me criticize or critique someone outside of the scope of volleyball, right? Saying someone quit, I don't do that. I've only said that once, and I gotta find that guy and apologize. I thought, or this player doesn't want in. This player wants out. He doesn't even want in that play. I've done that once, and that was 2016 with Aaron Russell. If I find him, I'm gonna apologize. It's just me for doing this a long time, like Bill Parcells style. You are what your record says you are, but that's not always true. I mean, I can go cold world scenario, where someone takes it personally, or like you said, you can have constructive, fair criticism, not necessarily what someone's not doing, but like you said, something positive mindset, because we're going to get into that with club, positive old school versus new school coaching. What I'd like, but what I think could be a little bit better, right? That's forward thinking instead of, you shank that pass, you should just go live in a fucking log cabin. Bye. So I'm loud, I'm provocative, but very, very rarely do you see me criticize volleyball players outside of the scope of volleyball. And anytime they can't handle that, come see me. I'll apologize if I think I'm wrong, and I won't if I won't. Find another job if I mean, this isn't a volley talk conversation. Everything we talked about is fair game. And you're right. By the way, you are popular on that show, on Volley Talk right now.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you and Travis Meerwitter.
I haven't been on Volley Talk in years, man. And back then, that was more indoor stuff. I was doing like interviews. I was a D3 player interviewing other D3 players, talking about like the NECVA coming up and stuff like that. So question,
and maybe we'll explore pro later, but right now I thought like you said, we've oversaturated on that. We really wanted to talk about club. I had Sarah Stratton on the podcast. Sarah Stratton, a former Olympian, or just Olympian, I guess, just like Mr. President, right? 2000 Olympian, got to host Australia. Right now she played in the AVP a little bit. She won a chip one time with handily, and they beat Lisa Arce and Holly McPeak in Michigan. Actually, I forgot the city, but that was
Muskegon,
her one.
Probably.
Yes, Yes, that was 2001. So basically, when the AVP went under, she started redirecting her energies on parent coaching, teaching people how to be better parents, and then it translated into sports, where she was like doing sports psychological work. I'm messing with the phrase, of course, with the nomenclature for some of the local college teams. I think UCLA for a little bit, but right now, what she's doing is she's doing like positive reinforcement for kids in sports, and parents how to deal with kids in sports. And she's got her own little company, her own little website. And we had a nice little debate about punishment and consequence versus positive reinforcement. All right. Like, to me, like, if
I have to listen to that one. That's interesting.
She is, yeah. Look, if I talk a lot of shit and you're like, Jay, this is a waste of my time. I got 24 hours in a day and I choose to do something else. And no, but I'm gonna be real. There's entertainers, there's infectious disease people, and there's some people I just do a watch party with, like Greg Faulkner. But this is your wheelhouse, man, because she's, in fact, you should have her on. We should do a 3-way, but that came out wrong. But
Jesus.
Took an hour. So we had an argument.
Like the Twix commercial. I just need this.
I know. Oh my God. But we had a great discussion about why she's not into punishment or consequence for drills. Like, there are some drills where I'm like, the winners have to do sit-ups, the losers have to do suicides and this and that. And I just wanted your thoughts about when you would imply consequence on a team, if it's applicable, as far as drills are concerned, or as far as effort is concerned, and your thoughts on that.
I mean, this is my take on it. I coach 11 to 18-year-olds primarily, right?
Okay.
And even when I coach the adults, like, they're paying me for their individual development. I don't care. The worst case scenario that happens, remember, I don't run a 7-month program. My kids sign up lesson to lesson. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about Beach is I think it's hard when you coach indoor and you got a team for 7 months. You're going to have lulls where these kids burn out, especially when they're playing high school on top of that. So realistically, most of these kids are going 51 weeks a year, right? Kids are getting more and more and more commitments and less breaks. Sports science says that we're doing it wrong. It's not a matter of opinion here. They should, at minimum, take 4 months off from a respective sport, both for their biomechanics so that they don't have the same impact on their joints. They can cross-train, they can play other sports, right? So we're doing it wrong. High schools look at clubs and they're like, that's not on us. Like, we have 4 months. Clubs are like, hey, we're only doing our season. We're pretending like we don't understand exactly what we're doing, right? So I liked Beach because it gave me the opportunity to avoid that. Now, if I coached a college team, then there are expectations because those girls took a slot that a lot of people wanted, right? They've committed to a team that's bigger than them, and they've got to perform, right? So at that level, you have to have things in place. I was never a big punishment person just because I felt, fear. Don't get me wrong. John Wooden, I was a big John Wooden guy. I'm not naive to the fact that Bobby Knight won championships as well, right? There's more than one way to do it. But I think as we get a little more aware of the science and the psychology of things, especially in our sport, I think our sport, we don't talk about how mentally challenged. I know you talked about the sensitivity. I think our sport requires that individual sport resiliency that you see in like golf and tennis where there's no one else to blame, right? Well, in beach doubles, you're two persons. So when you make a mistake, you feel like, did I let my teammate down? Did I let my coach down? Did I let my parents down, right? It's not like, soccer is a very popular sport for little kids. No disrespect to people that like soccer, but like you have 24-year-olds just do the beehive, as they call it, just chasing the ball around and whiffing. And it's just like not to be mean because they're kids, but it's garbage soccer. But the kids are having a great time, right? The play doesn't stop when a kid whiffs on the ball. Like, they're running around. The parents think it's adorable. Well, volleyball, most people's first experience with volleyball All right, serve the ball over the net. Oh, almost made it. All right, everyone, let's stop for 30, 60 seconds. Everyone rotate. All right, serve the ball. Oh, it's an ace and miss serve fest, right? And for a lot of these kids that start the sport in 6th to 8th grade, and most of their coaches, including I was in this situation, are volunteer parents that don't know the sport, and they're just getting screamed at, right? Our kids, I had a 7th grader. One day we were having to practice. It was one of their 3rd or 4th practice. We're making mistakes, and we're hesitating. And I'm looking at my kids, and I'm like, I'm not a yeller. I'm just like, hey, I don't care if you shank the next 10 balls. What I want is for you to go full speed so that I don't have to look at you and say, you just got to go for it, right? They're not responding. So we sit in the sand. And instead of punishing them, I sit and say, girls, what's going on, right? Like, all I'm asking is your best effort. Why don't you want to do that? And I had this 12-year-old look at me, and I mean, almost verbatim, this is what she said. I'm sure I'm messing up the words, but I'll never forget this, the message. She said, Bryan, or coach, like, I hear what you're saying, and I know you haven't yelled at us, but everywhere else I've played, when I make a mistake, you know, I've usually been either screamed at or I just get put on the side. And here's the key. This is the last thing she said. And they don't tell me how to fix it, right?
Yeah.
As a coach, there's a couple of hats I wear. The first thing is I'm there to help kids find something in themselves that they either don't see in themselves or they want and they don't know how to get there, right? Maybe they have the drive, but they don't have the tools. The second thing I'm there to do is to help them deal with the adversity. And when kids are making every, you know, a lot of times it looks like kids aren't going for the ball in serve receive. And I can't speak for you. I have had at least 50 kids in the last year. And I asked them, what do you watch when you're in serve receive? How do you determine where the ball is depth, you know, how far it's going to go, angles? And every single kid has been taught the wrong thing that comes to me. Just being honest. It's, I watch the server's arm, the shoulder. They're not watching the height. They're not watching the speed of the ball. And that's what they're passing. So a lot of times these parents are looking at these kids and like, ugh, like these kids just don't, I can't get them to move. Why don't they move? Well, that ball's got 60 feet. And a lot of these kids, if they haven't been taught, if they're watching the arm of the hitter server and the serve goes off the arm and they're tracking the ball 15 feet in its, they're not moving because they don't have the tools to understand where they're supposed to move and why. And once you actually start sitting with these kids and you explain, like, I'll have them sit there, I'll serve 3 short, 3 deep, watch the height and watch the speed of the ball, right? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, all of a sudden the kids are moving more because they have the tools, right? If I have a kid that isn't giving their best effort, and I got to tell you, it doesn't happen often, but when I do, it's usually a reason. And it's not that they're bad kids. It's not that they're lazy. Kids are amazing. A lot of kids are dealing with stuff that we have no idea about. And, you know, trigger warning for people, we're going to toss some D stuff. I've had players that have tried to take their own life. I've had players that have been sexually abused. I've had players, you know, everything in between. These kids, we get them for 4 to 8 hours a week. And you don't know what they're dealing with outside of it. And sometimes those things are heavy enough that it's going to affect their play on the court, right? So we can do one of two things. I can punish the kid for playing a sport that's very imperfect, where you miss the ball an inch, it goes a mile.
Which could quite possibly be their escapism, but go ahead.
Exactly, right? Or I can destroy this kid who came into practice already broken and just make them feel like they're worthless, or that they're not good enough, right? If I got a kid that's showing up that doesn't love the sport, and the reason we don't have the effort is because they don't want to do this. I don't like the fact, like, I'll look at a kid and say, do you want to do this? And if they say yes, and I'm like, okay, well, here's the deal. The only 2 rules I have is best effort and respect your peers, including the coach. That's the 2 rules. If they say yes and then they don't give it, I'll talk to the parent and say, look, I think your kid's a bad kid, but this is not what they want to do.
But what's going on off the court?
It appears they don't. And it's amazing how usually that insight explains a genuine and fair reason on what the issue is, right? And if you coach 11 to 18-year-olds, and I don't care how good your club, if you coach kids, even if you're for a prestigious club, you should be able to be successful without using them as cogs in the machine, right? And I got a player that's looking into beach who's very good at indoor, and the parent recognizes, you know, They were on one of the best teams in the country for their age group, but they were a high level athlete when they were younger, and they could recognize, the team was doing well for a while. But I saw kids that literally were playing worse in June than they were in February. Your job coaching 11 to 18-year-olds, right, is to develop human beings. That's my opinion on it, right? If you want to coach for wins and losses, go coach pros, go coach college.
Yeah.
But if you're coaching kids, and 94% of them are not going to play in college, and even the ones that do, like the kids that are my most successful kids, it's not because I beat them to greatness. It's not because I push. You don't have to push the greats. The kids that win a scrimmage and come back after, and they want to know what they could have done better. The kids that you're literally telling them, you got to play a little less because you're going to burn yourself out, but I want you in the weight room. I want you watching film. You know what I mean? Like the kids that are going to be the greats, they got that fire, right? I'm not here to coach effort. And if a kid doesn't want to do it, one last story. I had a girl when I did coach indoor, 16 years old, had Division I athleticism, had all the talent, hated the sport. You could tell. And it's tough for these parents because the parent sees this girl and she's got this natural ability. She's cruise controlling through and she's beating a lot of her peers, right? And you want to nurture your kid's talent because in your mind, if I nurture it right, it's going to give her the highest, ability of what she could accomplish, right? And this mom is just every single time she comes in, she's basically selling how bad her kid wants it, right? Because she deep down, I know, knows. She can see when she's on the court. She sees that I see that her kid just doesn't care, doesn't love it. And it's not a knock. It's the truth. Look, there are things that my friends love to do. Kristen is an incredible artist, and I love her art. Like, she does great. I don't want to draw. I have no interest in it, right? It's not about good or bad. It's about compatibility with what people's drives them, right? So finally, after like a month of just like, this kid is not going to see this through. She doesn't love it. She doesn't want to do this. I'm giving her the opportunity. This isn't her sport. And the mom keeps coming in. Finally, one day she's telling me about how much her daughter loves, she comes home and she says how much she loves it. And she's lying. Like, it's not a matter of it. She's lying. This kid is trudging out. Like, she's running out of practice because she's trudging in, right? And I'm like, if your daughter had half the love of the sport that you sell to me, deep down you wouldn't be talking to me about it. And here's the truth of the matter. It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot easier as a high school student to find what she loves, right? Might not be volleyball. Put her in other sports if you think it's about athletics. Put her in other, when I guide kids to college, right, athlete or not, we talk, what do you love? What's your passions, right? Because the truth is I was 5'5", 95 pounds in the size 12 shoe when I played volleyball going into high school. I stunk at volleyball. It was my worst sport of all my sports. Baseball, I was very naturally talented. My dad played baseball. I was always doing well as a young kid, and I just didn't want to do it more than 1 year at a time. I kept quitting. And I thank my dad for not forcing me to play baseball and allowing me to follow my passion versus my talent, because it took years. But I got a giant indoor sand beach facility. I met my soulmate through the sport. Thousands of people I've met through the sport, right?
Dude, we met each other. That wouldn't have been possible.
Absolutely right. We actually had lunch with we last weekend. We went and met these people. One's from Switzerland, the other's from Argentina. They're a couple. We met because the female contacted us because she moved to the area. She loved volleyball, right? But we got to know as people. She's just an incredible person, right? I think, this is a long answer for what your original question is. We should coach kids. We should figure out what their goals are. And then based on those goals, we should be creating the program that enables them. And they got to put the work in, right? So if I get a girl that says she wants to play in college and she's only showing up 1 or 2 days a week and she's looking at her peers passing her, then we're going to have a conversation. But based on her goals, right? And that's a challenge for club. That's a challenge. I recognize the difficulty because you got to have position players. That's why I left it. You got to have position players. You got to have your team show up 7 months. I think as a coach, when I did, I had to be realistic. You can't go 7 months and expect these kids not to have some peaks and valleys, right? And versus punishing the kids, and expecting them to, frankly, for us as pro players, take off seasons that these kids don't get. They do. So, these are people that get paid millions of dollars and clearly love it because they've done it. This is what their life is. So for the kids that are, the 94%, the 16 out of 17 that play club, that love the sport, that want to get better at the sport, but maybe more than just a volleyball player, we have to have that effort. But maybe we need to take a step back and say, if these kids can't give that effort, what do I need to do differently as a coach, right? I got to work with the sports psychologist of the Warriors, and that's one of the things he says. When I'm not getting the results I want from my kids, I'm going to go to them and say, what more do you need from me? And if a kid doesn't want to be there, well, then that's really what we got to address. Not how do we beat them to greatness? Maybe the best thing we could do as a coach is to talk to them and their parent and say, is this how you want to invest your time and money? And I think a lot of clubs, it's hard to do that because that doesn't help the margins.
You said a whole bunch.
I know, sorry.
No, because you covered a whole lot of layers, and I think in order for you to answer the question, we have to cover all those layers, right? The answer is not one dimensional. So, but what I wanted to do was touch on one of those dimensions. Like, if a kid looks like he's not showing effort, sometimes it's not the lack of effort itself. It's a lack of understanding on the how, right? If he's taught a certain way that coaches like you and me might consider the wrong way to go about it. Because I think on a level, there is a basic way to play volleyball, like straight and simple, one move to the ball and this and that we all as coaches co-sign. That should be a general blanket outside of coaching styles and player styles developments. But I think that's very, very important because I think that's something a lot of coaches miss. And I think that's what leads to consequence or punishment, right? Like, we're doing a serve receive drill. If you get ace cleanly, everyone's going back line. Like, if you don't go for the ball at all, and maybe, like you just said, maybe there's just something that doesn't allow his effort to not get ace cleanly on that. And sometimes it's just a good serve, right? But you touched on this something very, very, very important, because as coaches, we immediately try to diagnose players who we think aren't trying, without understanding the scope of that. Such an out of all the layers that you just talked about, I can't believe that's the one I'm coming up with first, but at the same time, super necessary. Thoughts? You were going to talk about that.
The truth is our sport's all about movement. The first thing I teach, I got it from Stein, is the push step, the movement in the stand, right?
Metzger?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So he's the only coach that I ever was taught movement from. And I think after learning it, I thought that was the most important thing I ever learned.
Good Lord. Go ahead.
And so, because you could be the best passer, the best setter, the best hitter, but if you can't get to the ball, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So, serve receive in its simplest form, it's a race to where the ball's going to go and angling the platform to the right angle, right? That's as simple as we can make it. Well, if I've got a drill, I'm not saying that fear at some point isn't going to get a little more hustle out of kids. It does. People wouldn't do it if it never got any results. But long term, what my goals are, I want my players. Hesitancy is one of the deadliest diseases for a volleyball player, in my opinion. Like, not going full. We got a lot of court to cover in a short amount of time. So I want my kids as loose as possible, right? So I'm kind of like, when we don't pass well, we're losing the race. So I tell my kids, right? So it's a couple things we got to figure out. One, how's our footwork? Are we in a position where we're in a good position to get a good first step to the ball? Two, are we really diagnosing where that ball's going early so that we can get to the general area and then make little adjustments versus we wait till we know exactly where it's going, and now our platform's happening to the ball instead of the ball's happening to our platform, right? And third is like, okay, are they really thinking about where exactly they're trying to make that ball go? Right? Those are the things. Bless you.
God bless you.
So Jay says, bless you too. So, every time a kid makes a mistake, even if it's a hesitancy thing, I'm more interested in figuring out why they're hesitating, right? I want to make these kids, it's the opposite. I want to make these kids fearless of the mistake. I want them to embrace the mistake that sometimes you're going to shank a pass, sometimes you're going to miss a set, sometimes you're going to miss a hit, serve out of bounds, get blocked, whatever. And how we respond to that makes all the difference. And it's very counterintuitive. When we're not passing well, when people give up a string of passes, they get aced and then they freeze. They don't want to make a mistake again, right? So I need to teach these kids, hey, when you're not passing well, you got to be more confident with your movement, as weird as that feels. And it's not what your brain's feeling or what. You got to push through that. You got to say, I got to be faster, right? And my opinion is if I'm using fear as a motivational tactic to get them to move, but now I'm getting them like, oh, am I going to have to run or not? Like, you're making the drill less about am I passing well, you're making it more about I don't want to run, right? I'm not saying it doesn't work short term, but if my goal long term is to make a complete player, I think one of the first things we have to do with my kids is unlearn what they've learned at these other places, which is you're going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. It's okay to make mistakes. We don't want to make the same ones over and over again.
And we don't want fear to be residual.
Right. I could have 4 incredible players all doing exactly what I asked them to do. Mm-hmm. And the record at the end of the day is going to be 500. 2 players are going to lose every point, no matter what we do. There's never a point where it's going so well and I blow the whistle and I'm like, and there's times where I'm watching this Valley and I'm already sad because I know I'm going to have 2 kids that are going to be destroyed that they lost it at first, right? I can't blow the whistle and say everyone wins. So I feel the best thing we can do as coaches is take a step back and when a mistake happens, even if we're not moving, right, is encouraging that effort, right? And almost making that the goal versus the execution. Mm-hmm. Not that we don't want the execution, but once I get the effort, then I can coach volleyball. Because at the end of the day, you can know everything about the X's O's. It's your point. If you can't get these kids to go for it, mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if they understand what they're trying to do. They're going to lose the race. So
there's a whole bunch of players I can use as an example, but I'm going to use Miles Partain. Miles Partain, let's say he gets aced, or let's just say he misses a dig. Something and I'm only using him because there's enough TV time and there's enough video for people to watch him and use this as an example to what I'm about to talk about next. He misses a pass. He will mimic when the play is over. He will mimic what he did or what he was supposed to do right. And I like it because it's the ultimate reset button where you're not thinking about it. You're almost instinctively reverting to a technique or something that you taught that is and on a time-tested basis, however short his time was, but on a time-tested basis, has worked and is continuing to work. And it was something, it was cool because it came to my attention because Rob McLean, my boy Rob, was in Chicago, and
met him and told him I like the work he does with you.
He's such
love the way he plays too.
Yeah, and his reach. I mean, you want to talk about someone that's one partner away from being really, really good. That's him. His hands almost look like he's not even touching the ball, right? His release doesn't even. It looks like an invisible man is like taking. But when he played Miles and Lotman, the second phase, because he survived day 1,
day 2,
day 2. It was something that I was looking at, and I'm like, wow, Miles does that a lot. Miles, and it works for him. And you rarely see that kid get aced, or like on defense. Let's say he misses a first step, he'll mimic his shuffle or first step, and then it's like this fix. And I think whoever got him young, man, it really, really helped him out because now it's something that has allowed someone like him to catch up and pass a lot of people who are going to the qualifier, which is why I got into that whole cowboy up thing. But I think that works as a coach, right? And one last thing Absolutely. I wanted to add that's related to this, but I hope we didn't veer too far away. I turned some things that some people consider a punishment into something fun. Like we'll do a certain drill, and whoever wins the drill has to do like left and right 12 times. As soon as they pass the ball, another ball's tossed, boom. And at the end, right, by 8 or 9, they're diving, right? And they're diving and they're diving. And some people would consider that a punishment for doing something wrong. But what happens when I did this drill, one of the players comes up to me, he's like, Coach, can I do that next? And I'm like, no, you got to win the drill. You got to win the drill to do that. So I got kids who are competing for the right to do something that some coaches consider a punishment. So there are things we as coaches can do that can psychologically manipulate these kids who say they want to compete, and it actually helps you gauge. It shows who wants it, And then some people, maybe it's not that thing, but I thought it was just a little fun caveat that I would add, and I told Sarah in our podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I tell my kids, I have a simple goal. I want to help you be the mentally and physically strongest player you can be. That's my goal, right? And I can only go as hard as you go, right? And again, it's a beach unique thing. I couldn't do this in club when you've got a team. But with beach, again, I got girls that are like, I want to play in college, and they want to go 3 days a week, and they want to, watch film. That's awesome. And we can provide that. And I got girls that love the sport, that want a high level of education, but they're fantastic musicians. They're fantastic. They're in theater, I know that hits home with you. They play other sports. Frankly, they love the sport, and they want to be good at it, but it's secondary to something else.
How many hours in a day do they have, right?
Right.
Like Nolan Albrecht? How many hours in a day did that guy give up sleep to do what he did, to play to be a full-time NCAA player and to pursue, I think his fine arts degree is in musical or theater, either musical theater or theater performance. He's definitely music. How? What? I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I'm sorry to interrupt it, but you're right. You're onto something where like volleyball may be tied for first, or volleyball may be a close second or a distant second.
And just kind of more youth sports than just beach volleyball, right? Mm-hmm. Like my dad kind of hit the nail on the head for me on like it set the table for why I wanted to coach. He's like, for most of these kids, youth sports is their first experience with failure. It's the first time for a lot of these kids, they're going to be going for a goal. They're going to go against other kids that are also going for this goal. And only one person or team is going to come out on top. And teaching them how to work through that adversity, that's something that's going to help them with their education, their relationships, their careers, right? That's what coaching 11 to 18-year-olds should be. And I think one of the things that we're struggling with is when you've got a $19 billion industry that before the pandemic, there was a report saying by 2026, it was going to be up to $77 billion. And that money doesn't come from development. It doesn't come from life lessons. It comes from commercializing. It comes from getting people to commit more, to spend more money on travel and these qualifiers and these nationals and these recruiting agencies. We're dealing, I kind of want to segue to one of the biggest challenges. And I had this epiphany this summer. In our region, in June, they announced that club was going to move their tryouts up to July. And that was after a really grueling club season. On top of like in spring, high school and club were going on simultaneously. Bananas.
Tryouts for beach.
No, for club.
For indoor.
And other states do this already.
No, for club indoor?
Yes.
Okay.
So these parents and players that they're finishing up their club season. It's been a long season. They've done it with high school at the same time, which they've never had to do before. And then they get told as their season ends that in 3 or 4 weeks that tryouts are going to happen for the following year before high school season, which we won't even get into that today. That could be another podcast, right? And I got these parents and players that feel, all of a sudden there's all these optional camps in June by these organizations, right? Because we know tryouts aren't tryouts anymore. They're not. Let's stop. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. These clubs know who's on their ones teams already that's returning, and they're filling in the blanks, the kids that come from other programs. It's recruiting, basically. It's the way it is. But it's what it is. And I had so many parents from June to July calling me. And they're literally using the words hateful, toxic, and ones I won't repeat on here, regarding the coaching that their kids got. So this was a time, I to a fault, I don't market, but I basically said, look, I think there are a lot of kids that love their club experience And if you've got a good program, you've got a good situation, you feel you're getting what you paid for, you're happy, your kids are getting those life lessons on top of good volleyball, stay. That's good. I get these parents that tell me that these things about the coaching environment, and then they sign them back up. And I asked them after the fact, I said, not judging, I just need to understand, why would you do that? Why would you have a mentor for your child? You're paying thousands of dollars a year for your child's individual development, and you're being treated as a cog in a machine. And frankly, you're not even being given the proper opportunity when your kid doesn't do well, they do get punished. They do get, not just punished. They're not even being taught the proper technique because these coaches don't know it. And they're literally being mentally and verbally abused. It's happening. And the parents are terrified because the kids are terrified. I've had parents that are very successful business people, that are alpha people, but when their kids express that fear of, you're going to take me away from kids that I'm comfortable with, what we have to address is that parents with good intentions are leaving their kids in toxic coaching situations because it's a familiar social situation. And something that I think, if I have one piece of advice to any parents that are watching this, it's, you're not going to be able to protect your kid from new social environments when they go to college. You're not going to be able to protect them from dealing with new social environments when they move somewhere for their job or move into their first place and have to build their social network. I understand that for a lot of these kids, this is their social life because they do it year round, right? And they build bonds with these kids. But there is not a friendship that justifies putting your kid with a program that clearly is looking at you as a check and is putting your kid in a situation where they're going to graduate high school. They're not going to have the skill development that they need. And more importantly, they're going to go into life with a mindset that I'm either good at something or I suck at something, because that's what the coaches have taught them. And these kids are smart. And certain clubs, what they're doing is they're doing these competitive cauldrons mid-season. So instead of having your ones, your twos, your threes teams, they're putting these kids against each other at their respective positions. And then if they're doing well, then they get moved up a team. If they're not, they're moved down. And they're getting blatant difference in coaching quality if they're on one team or the other. And these kids see that. So you're literally showing them, if you don't play at a certain level, even if you're paying the same amount as your peers, we're not even giving you the same. There's an injustice. We're not even giving you the same opportunity to catch your peers.
Is this one of the reasons why you just said the hell with indoor?
It's why I had to, because here's
because there doesn't seem to be a big solution.
The club I worked for. Well, I mean the solution is the solutions, but it's costly. And if you care about money, if you care about the income more than the outcome, you're not going to solve it.
They're already paying anyway,
because it's a challenge.
But they're already paying anyway, though.
Well, what we're not talking about is like if you had a flow chart. Okay, so I'm a big club. I'm successful. My ones kids across the board are going to stay, right? And I'm going to lose a large amount of my kids on threes teams or lower because they're going to get a garbage situation. And no disrespect, some really good threes coaches out there. But the bottom line is, my gripe is with USA Volleyball only having a 3-hour class on how not to get sued to coach club. Like, we don't prepare coaches to be club. And something that's happened in our area is now you're seeing high school juniors and seniors coaching younger club teams because it's cheap labor. And clubs are getting the opportunity. Doesn't matter once the parents cut the check, it doesn't matter how bad that team is. And what they know is, okay, so we might lose 100 kids that are going to leave because they're not happy. That's fine, because we're going to fill with 100 kids coming from other clubs that had the exact. It's like we're just playing hot potato with all the kids that we're not willing to give the same opportunity as our top kids.
And listing glorified babysitters. I agree.
So you want to talk about solutions? Number one, we need it shouldn't be something where there's such a disparity between the quality of coaching. My ones coach, my threes or fours coach should be able to teach the basics just as well as my ones coach. If I understand you're not going to necessarily have the same level, you're not, but your basement's got to be higher. And we have club coaches that should have they don't even have the psychology of how to deal with kids when they're not doing well. And you're just screaming at the kids. So we need to have a higher standard for what it takes to be a club coach.
I agree.
Right?
And it's so much easier to find in beach volleyball where like even the people that coach supposedly the threes or whatever, even those people are sharp. It's like they're so interchangeable. Like Endless Summer, like when I was with Duran, I'm with LA Beach now in LA Volleyball Club. Dane's taking over for Stein for Beach. And Jason Alves doing indoor, but like Jeff Samuels could coach like something we call the knuckleheads, the girls who are already going to college, or he can coach at 13. So it's so much different for Beach, and that's probably why you're
well, it's also so the reason I want to go to Beach is like, okay, I had someone that wanted to bankroll me to run a club, and I'm like, okay, and you know, the better we get, the bigger we get, and the bigger we get, the more coaches I need, and at some point, no matter how much I would want to coach in house, like my basement's going to be bigger than the typical club, but at some point, I'm not going to be able to look a parent in the eye and say I can give every kid the same opportunity for development. That's what it should be about, the opportunity for development, right? My kids that are undersized or don't put the work in, they're not going to go to college and play. Mm-hmm. But that should be based on their commitment, not my opportunity given.
100%.
Right? So with Beach, you know, this summer from 8:30 to 10:30, I'm working with my 12 and 13-year-olds that have never touched a ball in the sand.
Right.
And I'm the coach 2 hours later that's working with our kids that are going to go excel in college, right? The beauty with Beach is the bigger you get, you don't need more coaches. You might bring a couple into space, but I don't have to designate to only one or two teams. So my fingerprints and Kristen's fingerprints are on every single group of kids. Everyone is getting that same system, that same attention, that same growth. And so many kids come to my program that just have these awful stories. And they just like, you would have thought by their experience, like these coaches were like, oh my God, you can't do anything with these kids. Yeah. And the moment you give them an opportunity and you show them that like, you're going to let them have a chance, man, do they get better fast. Well, man,
I don't know if you notice it.
We whiff on them.
Well, I don't know if you notice it, but a lot of those coaches we're talking about that are nightmares are starting to. There's some people they're making their money, and some people, their parents feel like their hand is forced to go there because that's where the opportunity lies for their kids to advance, where they think. But I noticed that since people like you, I like Adam Johnson too. I'll put him in that category. He's got a beach club. He's doing more with less, and it's crazy because he's being criticized. Oh, I thought he thinks because he's a beach player, he's a great coach. Look at his players. I'm like, no, he's not recruiting. He's not teaching the same. He's not enlisting the same people and playing glorified babysitter. Okay, he's not an average mechanic in a room full of Ferraris. All right, he's a fucking great mechanic turning Ford Pintos into Tauruses. All right, so that's where I put you and him in this. I don't know if that's where the buck continues or stops, but you and AJ are very, very much like that. But as more coaches like you are on the scene for the juniors, as more coaches like AJ, as more coaches, Endless Summer's got a slew of them. Holly McPeak, I don't know if it's elite like her and like. Maybe not for Noy, but her and like some of the other coaches, Aaron Wexler. Like a lot of, as you guys continue to show that there's another way to skin a cat, I think a lot of these people and parents are going to be like, wait, we don't have to do it this way. We don't want to do it this way, so we're not going to do it this way. And it seeped into college too. Like, look, Division I sports is a cold world. And my attitude, Bill, like you are what your record says you are, is more applicable. But if you got someone like John Mayer, who has like this stress-free environment for women's volleyball, and the drama that comes with women's volleyball is like little to none, that's saying something. You got Anna Coyer, who passed the baton to Dane. Two completely different styles of coaching as far as growth mindset or just like someone who's old school hardcore. When people have other options and still choose that asshole. And did I say asshole? I didn't mean to call that person an asshole. That's just the way they coach. No, asshole. Asshole. Yeah, I said it.
You got that coach.
No, but as you continue,
the proper education to get the job done.
Right, but as they see they have other options and still choose that person, maybe there's not a whole lot to be done with that. But People are moving. There's you know what I'm saying? There's some movement in the game. And I'm not sending a message that you can't be strict and you can't be hardcore with your kids. All right? Because those are still producing the best players in the world outside of the United States. All right? Poland, you look at what's going on in the academy and Norway. These aren't exactly the nicest coaches in the world, but at the same time, there's something about actually getting some real volleyball in there, instead of sitting up from this perch talking from up here. That's gonna make people more productive players.
Well, and let's make something clear. Like, we're tough coaches at Progression, and we're tough in a different way. We're not tough by screaming at kids when they make mistakes.
Right.
We're tough because when my kid that wants to play at a certain level, when they reach out here instead of taking that extra step to go midline, if that's what we're working on, we're going to get on it for it, right? We're tough because when you're not, you get a ball inbounds, you get the point, but your footwork wasn't like you're out here instead of getting underneath the ball, right? So you can get your peak reach. We're on them. Like, there's not a single mistake you make that if I don't see you correcting, doing the Miles Partain thing, which I love that you talked about, right? We don't dwell on the what. We say, why did it happen? How to correct it? And if you make a mistake and I see you think about the what, you're just pissed off because you don't like the result. You're not in an aggressive way, but you got to deal with me, right? Like, my players struggle, they'll tell you I'm challenging because I'm on, right? And you can do it from a place of I'm here to help you instead of you're failing my program. That's why our tagline is you don't play for us, we coach for you. It should be the way it is with 11 to 18-year-olds, especially the ones that are paying money for their individual.
Yes, dude.
That's the, and again, I'm not sitting here trying to bash indoor or club. What I'm saying is we've got challenges that come with when you run a club of a certain size, and we need to stop just looking at the bottom line of the margins and saying, well, this is great.
Or change the bottom line altogether. Or change what the bottom line is. Because
I guarantee you, if those directors, if it was their grandchild that was on that 4s or 5s team, they would be a lot more in tune on making sure that they were being treated a little differently than they currently are, right? And it's, again, I don't think the burden falls with the organizations. I think the burden falls with the governing bodies that are supposed to be setting expectations of, like, hey, if you're a club in my governing body, if I run one, then we're going to have an actual certification process that teaches the basics of the sport. Every single coach should be able to look at a kid when they mess up a pass and understand how to look at their feet, how to look at their arm positioning, how to look at their body, and know how to fix it versus just screaming, we got to pass the ball better, or I can't get this kid to do it. Like, that's your job. That's the purpose of it. Not in a pompous way. You talked about being an expert. I've never seen a kid make a mistake in our sport and not understand why it happened, right? As a hitter, you're early, you're late, you're too far behind the ball, you're too far underneath it, you're outside, you're inside. It's one of those 6 every single time. And we need to do a better job making sure that any single person that's being put in charge of these 11 to 18-year-olds who are paying thousands of dollars to be part of that program, they should have a coach that we could give a pop quiz and look at a kid making a mistake and say, how do you help them fix that? And right now, I would argue that I would say 80, and I might be underselling it, 80% of club coaches, I'm not knocking them saying they're even the ones that yell. What I'm going to tell you is those coaches have not been required to have the tools to get the job done right. And that's my gripe is let's stop using all the juniors profit and quit. I don't want to hear anyone tell me about USAV being a non-for-profit. All that means is they take a bunch of money and they spend that money, right? And they're spending it on our national team.
Exactly.
I want to see that money going back to the kids, better coaching education. But it shouldn't be something where we're literally using these 11 to 18-year-olds to fund the adult program, and we're destroying some kids in the process.
Well, they learned on how to do it in the regional scene, right? The double Bs and single As are supporting open. I mean, right? So that's how they're doing it.
What do you mean?
Well, right, you play a double B tournament in Long Beach, New York, right, or a double A tournament, they give you a free beach chair or whatever and this and that, but the money you're paying is going to go to open, and the money you're paying is going to go to the purse money for open.
But you're paying a tournament to play, to participate.
Right.
That's different than being a kid at the
100%.
double B at the
No, but
that
I'm
age
saying
group.
they borrowed that idea for them to make money. That's
But
it's
but
almost,
it's not apples to apples because
no.
that's an idea. You're
Fuck
taking
no,
a
it's not apples to apples.
participation, but it has to be
Agreed. Hold on one
because-
second. I just want to tell everybody the reason why I keep looking to my right. We're live right now, so someone had a question, and Alexia, if you stick around, I want me and Bryan to help you answer that question, or it was more like a statement that's like a question. You're right, Bryan. Finish your
Let's do it
thought.
before we lose him.
Yeah. Well, basically, he said, and this is important because he said there's not enough good coaches for everyone. We both agree. But he also posted, parents don't know any better, and it's because it is hard to know how good or bad the coach is. So I guess my question to you is, how much of the onus is on the parents to research that, and how much on the onus is that? Well, we already took a giant swipe at coaches.
No, I love
job,
that's a great question, because I got so many parents that come to me and they're like, what's a good indoor, I get it. They're still going to play indoor. What's a good indoor coach? What's a good indoor program, right? And the challenge is like, I tell people, it's like going into a dealership and, there's 2 or 3 Mercedes sitting there, and then there's a bunch of gremlins with bees in the taillight, right? And you're not going to know which car you get until you put that down deposit down, right? So it's tough because I have parents. Here's the challenge, I think. I think parents feel that they have to enroll in certain like you're right. They're in a program that they're not happy at, but they're fearful, like, well, if I go somewhere else, what if it's worse, right? And all I can tell you is any parent that takes that mentality, I understand it, because as bad as it might be, it's manageable, right? But you're setting a blatant ceiling on what your kid's going to be able to do. And again, you're putting them in a situation that's probably going to hurt them mentally. So I do think parents need to be stronger at, no matter how much the kid kicks and screams. What you got to understand is when that kid goes to another program, they will make other friends. And if they don't, then at least you gave them a shot to go into a healthier environment. And at the end of the day, if you go to 4 or 5 clubs, it just doesn't work out. Well, maybe that's an indication that it's just not the culture that your kid's going to thrive in, right? But I just think that it's tough, and I think it's important for parents to go to a club. I try and tell my parents. The other thing that's an issue is you get a lot of kids that get put in positions different than what they want to play, and frankly, they're not really going to make a splash because that team needs a middle. That team needs this position, right? And I think any parent that is paying money for their kids' individual development and they want to play a certain position because that's what they're going to do in high school, or that's the position they're comfortable with, you have every right, if you're paying that type of money, to say, my child is coming here to develop at this position. And if you don't have a team where she has that opportunity because you've already got loaded at that position, that's fair, but you need to be transparent about that so I can take my money elsewhere. And I think a lot of parents don't realize, like, again, it's they get put in situations where they end up fitting the design of whatever that coach needs to have a complete roster and a full team. And that's wrong to me, because tryouts are no longer tryouts. Like, clubs to this day, like it's September, and there are clubs that are looking for club coaches, right? 2 months after tryouts, because they took on more kids than they had proper coaches. If I was SportsCenter, I would say that before the first day of tryouts for a club affiliated with my governing body, that you would have to have your coaches certified in a program that actually taught proper coaching, and you would have to list your amount of coaches. I wouldn't make you say, okay, 18-1's this, 18-2's this, because I recognize you can't control what kids you have try out. You may not have that conglomerate of kids, right? But I think every club should have to have their coaches certified and ready to go, versus what we do now, which is take on, everyone makes it, and then you need 2 to 5 coaches because you don't have enough coaches, and then you're just getting anybody you could throw into the impact certification. And the kids that are the leftovers, the kids that need the most help with the sport, are getting whatever coach you can cut the check to, so your margins look better.
So certified in what? With what? Cap 1? Cap 2?
The caps are. I don't like.
I wasn't trying to bait you. I swear to God.
No. It's important to talk about this. Okay.
I wasn't trying to bait you because I had no idea when I asked that question.
No, we need to talk about this. Jason, the reason I come out of this podcast is because I like the fact that we're going to talk exactly what we feel about things.
But I'm very much like an attorney. A lot of times I don't ask the question. I don't have a guess on the answer to that one. I jumped out without a parachute.
Well, you didn't know what I was going to say, Cap 1, Cap 2. All right. So I did a certification in one of the caps. And that's the extent. 20 people, right? 2 of us actually had a playing background, which I thought was awesome, honestly, because we were going to do these drills with the 20 people. We were going to look like a lot of these lower level programs, right? Because we had people that don't play. And 3 of the things they talked about that I liked was random versus block. Number 2 was ask the question. So if they make a mistake, don't tell them you need to do this. Say, well, what'd you feel there? What do you think happened there? Right? And I'm a big believer on that.
Me too.
And number 3 was less is more, which I know I don't always do that at the beginning because I want my kids to understand the why behind the what. But we get to a certain point where I can give them 4 words and they know we've already had that conversation on what that actually means, right?
All right.
So we go over all that. And then they put the 20 people in a drill. It's a bump setting drill. And it looks terrible, which is great because now what I'd like them to do is take a step back to ask the coaches, well, what do you think? What do you feel there? What do you think, right? We run the drill, looks terrible. The coaches talk, it's a block drill. The cadres talk about what they needed to see differently in long form, but not really about the mechanics, just talking about the drill, right? We finish a drill done incorrectly. We're not squaring up. We're not using our legs. There's no talk about the individual mechanics that were breaking the drill. And then we moved on, and I'm sitting there like, whoa. You just gave 18 people the wrong way to do the right drill, right? We need certification process that teaches the individual mechanics. Let's get away from the drill books. And let's get to actually teaching. I should be able to look at a coach and show them a mistake and they should tell me why that happened. Our sport is just fun geometry. It's physics, right? And you get these coaches that this person's just not hitting well. And they don't know how to look at the spacing of the approach. Where do they transition? Are their first steps, allowing them to get the right step closed? Are they getting their arm back? Are they getting the right contact point? Are they following through the right way? It's not that hard once you get the proper education, but there's nothing that's doing that right now. There's nothing. Even the caps will tell you how to make a good practice plan, right? And at the 2 or 3 level, maybe there's some like high-end studies on certain things with physics and whatnot. It's not rocket science. Everyone that coaches volleyball should be able to break down passing, the footwork, arms to target, right? When things don't go well, it's our upper body's moving, our lower body isn't. We're not getting to the ball. Like we need to give that setting. Talking about bump setting and hand setting, foot positioning, hand positioning. When we miss, sometimes we catch the ball too far in front of us, and instinctively our elbows go forward, so we push the ball too. So getting underneath the ball, right? Basic stuff. In an hour or 2, I can teach someone that knows nothing about volleyball. They're going to need time to eye sequence and master it, but I can give them that. I get like girl yesterday. I never really was allowed to serve, right? But she's smart with math and science, and she's hitting the serve in. But I'm not good laterally, so we get her to the point within 20 minutes. She's going left, right, center. She understands. Hey, wherever you want that ball to go, your arm has to follow through between our targets, right? Boom, she starts hitting it. All right, we're going to work on short serves. We're going to talk about less follow through, same contact. Well, I've never done short serves. 20 minutes, she could do a short serve. And here's the thing, when she missed, and she still missed, but when she missed by the end of the practice, I could look at her and say, why do you think you missed? Oh, my toss was bad. Oh, too much follow through, right? If we could teach a 16-year-old kid who got cut by her high school team and was never given the proper coaching, if in 1 hour I can give her an understanding, where's the education for our coaches that actually deal with coaching? Yeah. Why is the education right now about how not to get sued, how to run, like here's a drill to occupy your kids, but here's not actually the right way to run it. and it's frustrating.
Well, it's frustrating because listen, there shouldn't be a disagreement on what's the right way to do it. I mean, for me, once you reach a certain level above that level, anyone that says there's only one way to do this should really just take whatever book they're writing and just throw it out. Because there's more than one way to skin a cat. But we're talking on the juniors level. We're just talking basic fundamental stuff. We're talking, like you said, straight and simple. We're talking one move to the ball. I'm a big hold your platform guy, right? I'm having to explain the why and the mechanics of that, why that makes sense. I'm not gonna explain it like a PhD physics professor, because I think as coaches, there's a certain level that if you learn it and you master it and you teach it, you should be allowed to call yourself an expert on that level, right? The physics of the ball and how it differs from like an AVP optics or an indoor Molten. Fine, have someone go in the lab and study that, but at the same time, have us vet the study before we go out there repeating bullshit. All right. Alexi said proper mechanics are the biggest missing piece in the U.S. and not enough coaches with pro experience, and that's why the world is getting that much better indoor and beach. I agree with everything except the reference with coaches with pro experience, because they're guys that don't even touch the ball like that. Oh, a pro coaching experience. I get that. No, I get that. Never mind that. But I think, like you said, in order for there to be a baseline way for every coach to understand, I think we as coaches have to get together and to have a certification process where we all agree across the board. And I think sometimes some of these coaches' egos, where some of these people who are used to speaking, who are doing it for so long, they feel like they have to be up here, speaking up here to down there. That even if they're right, it's just a fucking turn off. It's like I don't want to work with this guy. I got, like you said, I got better things. I got kids I'm trying to teach, and I got to sit there and listen to and work through this guy just to get what I want. Are there other options? Is there another guy that knows as much as he does, that has the ideas, that doesn't talk like an asshole? So sometimes it comes from an ego-driven place, and the ego and lack of inclusiveness, what I was saying in the beginning of this podcast, is the obstacle. We're about solutions, but I'm presenting more obstacles that allows this conversation to continue to take place. And I think the solution is really just having a circulation or a networking of more people like you, because if people realize that they have someone like you that comes with a wealth of experience, that is still an admitted student of the game, that's like, you're very much like Lauren Bacall. She's 82 years old, talking about, well, life, I'm still learning about acting. When she was 82, she said acting is a lifelong learning experience. How does that translate to volleyball? Very much so. So my active proposal solution is somehow just continue. I mean, to me, that's what I think a lot of these episodes of the podcast are. You're a four-time, I'm all over the place, but you're a four-time repeat offender for a reason. I think we need to have more people where people realize that they have other options, who are more invested in the right way. I'll say that, the right way, where they don't have to put up with the bullshit.
Yeah, and I think, let's go back to the passing thing, because that's Please. An interesting concept, right? So, like, we had two AVP pros come. One taught midline, one taught inside out. Both are right on the pros to each, right? Mm-hmm. In passing outside your midline, mm-hmm. You can make more adjustments forward and backwards. It's easier to do so, right? But it's not a math. It's just basic math. Like, here's my look at the size of my bridge versus when I get behind it. My room for error should go forward, right? So, like, don't get me wrong. I think for certain players that have a really good hand-eye coordination and can be outside and really control it, that's awesome. They can pass outside, right? And when I have kids outside that are shanking it regularly, then at that point we want to talk a little bit more about midline, because you're not getting the result. The pro doesn't matter because you're not able to execute it in a manner to override the con of it, which is a narrower plane to actually contact the ball, right? So I think something that's really important, and I agree with you, like, I have preferences. I'm a midline person preference-wise.
Me too.
Right? And we talked about this.
Karch ain't, but we are. And that's
which again, and there's, again, Karch mastered. I mean, I literally have said Karch passed, as far as I'm concerned, as well as any athlete has done any mechanic in sports. That's my opinion, right? So for him, that's what's worked, right? And all I can tell you is some people don't have that touch.
No, listen, the guy he won the gold with, Stavertlik's a midline guy.
I think what's important for coaches, right, is we should give them the understanding of both, and the tools to understand what athlete might you be a little more out here, and what athlete do you need to be more here. Like, again, I got kids that do certain things a different way than the norm, but it's clearly it's not hurting. It's helping them more than it's hurting them, right? So again, you got kids that I got to run more of a shooter's offense. I got other kids where physically, like, we should be setting the ball tighter and using our, posing a role physically. I got kids that can read the depth of a set in relation to the hitter and can cheat a little bit more on defense. I got kids that got to stay system because they don't have that eye, right? That's one of the beautiful parts of our sport is there are so many different ways to be successful with it. And that's at the highest level. Then you add to kids where, again, the worse the level, to be honest, like I played lefty after my surgery and won a men's A tournament after for 4 years as a beginner, not being able to do it right-handed, right? So, the cool thing is that the lower levels, like, you can be lesser physically gifted and mentally employ a strategy that's successful. And I just think it's important that we need to be aware of multiple systems. Our sport shouldn't be constrained to only one way to do it, and put coaches in a position to understand it. Can you break down the person in front of you and understand, watching them, what they need to help them get to the next level?
Yeah, and 100%. I'm going back to tell people, know the difference between science and science collected. Know the difference between science and science collected. If someone's going to come to me with the term studies show, at least bother to take a look at the study itself. Don't just take it from someone look, we all know people, we all trust people. If you tell me a study shows something, if I ain't got time, if I got practice this afternoon, and if I want to try something, I might just go on blind trust with you. But it doesn't hurt for me or for you to actually take the look at the study that you're parroting the sentiment in its entirety, right? Does the study show, is it for indoor volleyball? Does it apply to beach volleyball? Does it apply to men's and women's, which we know psychologically is different? One we learned is like more through leadership and performance, and the other is like camaraderie and sisterhood, like the men and women. That's been a study show, an accepted study showed on a coach's baseline. Is the study done for 2 weeks, or was it done for 3.5 weeks? Was it a Division I program where there are people, or was it D3 where sometimes some people are learning on your middles are learning on the fly? You got some rock star outsides, but your middles are learning on the fly. So all of these things, people just have to be really, really careful talking about scientific this, scientific that. Just be humble enough to call it science collected, right? Because you got a lot of people out there that don't believe in science, and those are just idiots, okay? And then there's some people that believe in everything that's peer reviewed, and those people are just as flawed. I just think critical thinking. I guess the argument I was trying to get to, and I'm Kanye Westing this all over again, right? Where I bring it back, and it's genius for anyone that actually still listening. Use your critical thinking skills. Listen to what everybody has to say. Don't be dismissive. And then see what makes sense.
It's interesting, like, and don't take this personal, but like, I think, we don't have time to like delve into this. I think one of the challenges is when you say like some people, I don't get the words right. The people you just called idiots. You're like, some people don't, believe in science, critical thinking? Which one was it?
Science.
Science.
People are just dismissive of science because they see a study that doesn't work, and then
here's something that I think as society we need to fix. And honestly, I think it's what's going to make or break what we do as a society moving forward. I agree with you that there are challenges with groups of people that are very dismissive of things before actually looking into it, right? But I think part of the reason we're struggling to get them to take us seriously when we try to get them to maybe look at our side a little bit more is you see people finish like they don't do this and then the we're idiots part, right? And if they came from yours and my background, our mentors, our education, it'd be confusing. I would say, yeah, that doesn't make sense why they would feel that way. And all I can tell you is I was the person during the pandemic that would sit for 8 hours and watch an entire court proceeding. And then I would watch what certain media would spin that into, right? And some people, they're not idiots, but, you know, I walk into a local restaurant. I walk into my mom's foot appointment when she broke her foot. I walk into a lot of different places, and you see these media outlets, and they're selling certain things, and it goes both sides, right? I think we kind of lose sight of the fact that those people that
I think are idiots, or
if we were born into their exact scenario and they were born into ours, we might be completely flip-flopped, right?
We would.
I think some people didn't get the opportunity. All they know, you know, they've been taught by certain people, and they're in a situation where, for whatever reason, that's their source. That they've been told by people that they believe they can trust.
Right.
And I think the solution to it is, instead of attacking them individually, I think the solution is, can we show just and we have to be tone deaf to what they do. Because sometimes it's hard not to fight fire. What I feel is we were fighting the stuff. It's like playing a volleyball match against someone that you're maybe on paper supposed to beat.
Right.
But they're getting in your head with stuff in between plays, and you're feeding into it, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, we started a lot of what we dealt with the last 4 to 5 years with people bullying on that side, calling, you know, names. And now we've kind of started doing that ourselves. It's not a knock at you. It's not just you, right?
because I wasn't calling someone a name per se. We're having a conversation.
But like it's
if you come to me for political advice, I'm gonna say, dude, I'm a fucking moron. I know I'm not a moron. I know I'm not an idiot. So I'm not literally calling someone an idiot. I'm speaking from a metaphorical non-knowing state.
So I think the people that don't buy into the science, whether it's volleyball or beyond, what I'd like to see people that are pro science do is less criticism of their take and more so like, hey, here are the sources that you're getting your information from that tells you that you shouldn't believe in the science. And, you know, here's the things they're doing that contradict what they're telling you should do. Right. Yeah. I think there's so much out there that if we just stuck to the data and just said, hey, well, here's them saying this on one day, and here's them saying something completely different a week later, and avoid the whatabouts and avoid the one side versus 100%. The other, and we try to connect with that side. Sorry to go off on that tangent, but it's something that's literally been on my mind a lot the last couple months, and I've tried to catch myself to really. The harder. Have you watched Ted Lasso at all? Okay, Ted Lasso. That first season, anyone that coaches sports, you need to do the trial version if you don't have Apple. Watch the first season of Ted Lasso. It is exactly.
Hey, Apple, it's a free. The entire first year is free. So go ahead.
Oh, it's even better.
Well, that just expired, but
so there's. Do you have the episode where he talked about be curious, not judgmental?
Curious, not to judge people.
And that hit me. I felt. You ever feel something, but you never knew how to really put it, and then you hear something like that, and it's just like that's what I've felt. I never knew how to say it. Like people that don't agree with how I do things, right? Or frankly, people that I just like, how could they think that way? And when I was younger, I'll tell you, I absolutely had people that did certain things, and it affected me, and it felt personal to me, and I was just like, how could they do that, right? But I didn't get, what he says, like people that judge me, they just didn't ask enough questions, right? And I believe even the people that are completely polar opposite of what I believe, whether it's volleyball or beyond,
right?
I think people, it's hard when the way we've seen talk become normalized online the last 5 years, but we need to spend more time continuing to ask questions. And if some people are not willing to entertain those questions, just walk away from it, right? But it's not going away. Like we're digging, and the more we I see these tweets and people, they say the right data, and then they take this little dig at like, how could someone not believe this? And there's an answer for that,
because that's gaslighting.
It's the right question, but you're asking in a destructive manner. Like, how could this idiot feel this way? Or how could any idiot reason with this? Well, you know why? Because the people you get your resources from, they get completely different, and they're being told, and every time that we attack them, it further reinforces that fear tactic that the people that are telling them, like, it's us versus them. Right. It's they're trying to take away your freedom, your life, and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, and I never take that personally, because I'm not. You'll rarely hear me call someone an idiot per se. I'm like, I'm saying even I have a friend, James Barker. Yeah, like I have a friend, James Barker. Like, politically, we have zero reason to actually want to talk to each other. But like you said, when people are face to face and they're not tweeting or whatever, it's like all you want to do is give them a hug, right? All you want to do is say, hey, let's have a beer, whatever, and this and that. And I think that's where the challenge, like you said, where it's going to determine where we go as a people. People really have to just think before they click send. Maybe just read what they said out loud. But
we're starting to see it in person. We're starting to see stuff but we're starting to see things in person escalate a little bit too.
But it escalates because it starts with the tweet, and if you're tweeting more than you're having personal conversations, guess what? You're going to be on more tweet mode when you're having a conversation. However, if you're having more conversations and sending tweets, then your tweets will sound more conversational. And like you said, there's a place where we can talk to each other as human beings, where we're willing to listen. But we're talking about zero politics here. But if you want to have a conversation with someone about gun control, and if you call someone a gun nut, it's already started off on the wrong foot, right?
It's like that's all you got. That's going to be like, oh, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say.
Right? That's
exactly.
Like remember Erin Brockovich? And she's like, perhaps we got off on the wrong foot. And she's like, yep, that's all you got, sister. 2 left feet and ugly fucking shoes. Right? That's not how a conversation continues. That's how the conversation's that's someone being dismissive, and that's how a conversation is supposed to end. So I totally get that. Get that.
Sorry to go off on a tangent on that, but it's something that's, like I said, it's something that's been very interesting. It's been something on my mind that,
you had a lot on your mind, dude. We covered USA Volleyball. We covered the pro scene. We are 2 hours and 20.
No, I wish I didn't have things.
We are 2 hours and
let's talk about doing something more recurrent down the road.
So what? This is a mess. This is necessary. You came on this show.
But I was just saying, like, this has been great, and I'm just telling you, like,
I'm just glad I'm a coach and I get to talk about coaching. Are you kidding? Yeah. What? I haven't. The only time I've gotten to coach this whole year is just the handful of pros I've been helping prepare for the three. Everything else has been color commentating. I've been traveling for that. I went to Atlantic City. I went to Coconut Beach. I'm trying to get AVP consideration for the tour next year, which they are considering. Cool. I'll say publicly on this podcast, I pretty much know what the answer is, because as far as like who has a look or whatever and who's a best fit, I might not be their best fit, but the point of my conversation is that they're actually looking. So if someone's looking and the answer is no, I respect that. Because I'm not, right, Brian? I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? I'm at the end of the day, I'm just a kid from Brooklyn, and that might not be what everyone's looking for. But I'm only offended if someone doesn't look at all. But I got guys like Josh Glazebrook and guys who are pointing out things on my bio that you have to look for. Like, no one knows I'm a Gulf War vet. No one knew I won a National Defense Medal for Desert Storm or whatever, and this and that. Those are things if you're scanning my resume or my bio, you're not gonna know. So that I know, I'm glad. It's good to know that I have someone's ear. So Alexi's like, where do y'all coach? Because that's the way we're gonna end the podcast. Because you're gonna plug in whatever. Alexi, Brian's gonna go first. Brian, where do you coach? He wants to know about more website, your plugs, your handles.
Sure. Progression Beach Volleyball started in 2014. We're in the Chicagoland area. Just built 2 indoor sand courts in 2019. I'm excited. We coach all different levels. So we go as young as 11, all the way to adults. My oldest guy I coach is 73, pretty awesome. And everything in between. We coach for you. You don't play for us. So it's always been kind of figure out what people's goals are and help them get there. Excited with the pandemic settling down a little bit. To get a little more, maybe we'll do some leagues, we'll do some events like Queen of the Beaches, King of the Beaches, things of that nature. So currently writing a book, which I'm excited about. So I do on progressionvolleyball.com some blogging. I'd like to cover more topics. So Lexi in the chat, hit me up on Facebook. Let me know if there's certain things you want to see. My goal is to provide content to talk about the things that people want information on and can't necessarily find, whether it's actual volleyball education or if it's just the culture of volleyball or youth sports for that matter. Because as far as I'm concerned, I like beach volleyball because I think it's a really healthy youth sport that can both be good for the competitive athlete as well as the kid that might never make it to college. So, our thing is that we want to teach life lessons that beyond sports that help these kids, both with their self-esteem as well as understanding when life doesn't give you what you want, because life isn't always a fair. How do we work through that? And it's been really cool. Some of my athletes that didn't necessarily do things beyond high school, I'm getting to that age where a lot of them are adults, and it's cool to see them very successful in their respective fields and talk about how some of the things that they learned in the sand transcended to what they do now. So that's what we do.
Yeah. And for me, I was with Endless Summer Beach Volleyball. I'm not with them anymore. As of November, I'm going to be with LA Beach, in which Dane Blanton's taking over for Stein. And indoor is Jason Olive, who's a former All-American at U of H, and he's got a daughter that's playing, and he's this absolute alpha, and he's good at everything. So those are the indoor and beach guys, and I'm with them in November. These are the only guys I trust. Otherwise, I'm not really interested in coaching juniors anymore. On the professional scene, some notable players: Jeff Samuels, Kyle Ratty, Chris Austin, Earl Schultz, and Jake Arudia. And Rafa Rodriguez, I helped coach him in the draw in 2016 and helped him with analytics when he won San Francisco. But we're just going recent because we can be all day with that too. So that's our recent thing. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. That was completely finish up, but I got a question because I think who Gutor is. Isn't that the guy that played at Penn State like 15 years ago?
I think so.
Yeah, I actually got film of him from 05 Austin. So just real quick story, and you probably
don't 20. Have to be quick anymore. We got another file.
2005. I'm 20 years old. Go to my first nationals, and I've never seen like high level ball, and I'm pretty sure his team took second, but I brought my camera. I was going to like videotape all our stuff. I go to open, I see them. I spend every moment I'm not playing with my footage, like taking film from 2005 Nationals. And I'm pretty sure he's played for, I want to say it was TPC. It's a long time ago with Stunts and Gustavo Mayer and all of them. I think they took second.
Yep.
So, but if that's him, and he wants some old school footage of him playing USA volleyball, I some of the earliest footage I ever took with my camera was him playing. It might be actually 2007 Nationals. I
want to go back even further. I want to ask Alexei if his father played for the Ukes. There was an all-Ukraine team in 1985 and 86 that won Men's Open for Nationals. So
great hitter.
I'm curious. So. Yeah. It is who we know. And
I love what he says. Proper mechanics is huge. So, hey, I see you're in Texas, man. Let's shoot me a message. Just break bread. And hey, Jake, good to see you. I didn't realize we were going live. I would have shared it. So,
yeah, man. A lot of mutual friends, too. I think Chris Austin. Jason Olive pops up, too, as mutual friends. So he knows Jason Olive. He knows, cool, man. Wow. Yeah, Alexi, that we know who you are, man. You're that dude from Penn State. But great question. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. In fact, I hope all of you enjoyed this conversation. It had a lot of colors. I want to thank Bryan McDermand for keeping everything copacetic, because anyone that's listened to previous episodes know I can go off the deep end and I bring it around, and it's genius when I bring it around. But you got to actually stay with me for that.
We've done this. Peas and carrots, man.
Yeah, man.
Anytime.
Alexi, cool with the questions. Big shout out to Jake Kuzrak, who played with Rob McLean. He just gave you a shout out. He said, "What up, Jason and Bryan?" He actually played in the Chicago Open and the Manhattan with my boy Rob McLean. And you're gonna be a great blocker someday. My boy DJ Troy Yearwood, who's a magnificent DJ. He's not like an event DJ. He's house calypso reggae, like basement parties, big events, like New York stuff, and which is a huge money maker. And he's a savage DJ. So shout out to all of you guys that posted. Shout out to everyone that's listening, and the thousands of people are going to listen to the thousands and thousands of people who listen to the repeat of this. For Bryan McDermand, I'm Jason DeBeers. Stay with me. I'm gonna hit my music in a minute, but for now, hey, God bless all of y'all, man. We're out.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's do this. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.